Let's see now. I always forget to hit the dang go live button. All right. There we go. Let's turn you off. No, we can keep you. Turn you off. Lower the volume here. Yo! What is good, my people? Let me see if we can hear the music. Now, I don't see desktop, Mac capture. Alright, cool. Stop that for now. Let me see if we can hear the music. Alright, let's see. Where we at? So I hear mine. Karibo, Mobley, what's good, Yonin? This nigga said you still got black people internet. I'm at a hotel, bro. Give me a break, alright? Let's do it like this. How do I do this again? I have to take Mac OS, probably delete that first. So let's remove. Then we'll add it again. Micro screen capture. Correct. Then we will transform, order, transform, fit the screen, bring myself forward. Alright. Now that should fix the screen capture thing. Let's just see though. I'm gonna play the song real quickly. Hey, there we go. There we go. Yeah. Check 1, 2. I'm a rich nigga, got a bitch nigga, hitch nigga. Let me stop. We'll get the freestyle one of these days. Alright. Cool. Okay, cool. Perfect. I can turn that down. Alright. Welcome back. Welcome back. Boy, oh boy. We got a lot to talk about. First, I want to let you guys know the proposal was an astounding success. Let me put my glasses on, man. Y'all ain't ready for this shit. Hold up. Let me talk to you niggas, man. Let me talk to you guys. So I proposed to my girlfriend of 7 years. So by like technically common law stuff, we're already married, right? Common law states that after 7 years, you're already married. So I proposed after 7 years. And I had all my friends involved. I had her whole family involved. Most of my family involved. I scored perfect marks across the board. She was entirely satisfied with the entire thing. There were some hiccups as far as people arriving on time, but hey, that's my fault for trusting black people to stick to a schedule. I'll take that. But nothing that she had to worry about, nothing that she had to subject herself to as far as knowing that information. In her eyes, everyone showed up on time. Everyone was waiting there for her, patiently waiting, and everything went perfectly in her eyes. For me, I was stressing out. Not gonna lie, I almost blew a gasket because niggas was late, and they were later than I thought they would be. But in the end, it was a success. I proposed, she said yes. We're setting the dates for all that stuff. So I appreciate you guys, number one, respecting that, right? Because I told you guys that I wouldn't stream for that whole week or like that whole 2 weeks because I had to like, really lock in on the proposal speech, the idea, and all that stuff. So I appreciate you guys for being patient. That is over. We are ready to lock in. Appreciate you, Mobley. Black people timing is real. Absolute facts, bro. Appreciate you, Yonin. Thank you, bro. It was a really fun day. She like I said, she loved every aspect of it. 10s across the board. But now I'm ready to get back into the scaling world. Ready to get back into the streaming world. In fact, I'm actually having a lot more fun streaming than I am making videos, which is kind of weird because this channel started on making videos. So the more I stream, honestly, the funner it gets, and the less actual videos I can make though too. That's the only downside. But yeah, we're good, man. First off, how you guys living? Shake my hand. Shout out to J Black. Shake my hand. How are you guys living? Talk to me. What is going on? Yonin, what's new for you? Kariba, what is new for you? Mobley, what is new for you, bro? Like, what are we doing with ourselves? Are we in the gym at least 3 times a week? Is our money up? Do we have loved ones that we care about? Are there any women that we fancy? Where is my drink? Appreciate you, Mobley. Appreciate you. But yeah, before we get started, let me know what's going on with you guys. Don't gotta be your whole life story if you don't want to. I'll definitely listen to it if you want to put that out there though. Let me know what's going on with you guys. Cause I'm excited, bro. Endorphins through the roof. I'm happy. I'm working out every day. Well, almost every day, right? Streaming is getting fun. Reading more. You know what I mean? I'm happy. Hey, Mugetsu, my boy. By the way, Ab-stract, have you considered doing a scaling-themed read-through of Records of Ragnarok when you catch up to Boruto? It has very interesting inverse scaling. Records of Ragnarok, so honestly, for me, Records of Ragnarok is like I've never considered scaling it because it's more of a, for me at least, a nonchalant, it's like a fun anime to me. I never really considered scaling it though. If I were to scale an anime outside of Bleach, like full force, and do a read through of it, it would probably be Kengan Ashura though. I think Kengan Ashura would be a fun one to scale. But then again, I've only watched the Netflix version of Kengan Ashura. I'm not familiar with the manga at all. So we have to see about that. Making sure my siblings are situated with school. That's dope, bro. Yeah, gotta watch out for the young ones. Gotta watch out for the young ones. I got 2 young brothers, and I'm really mad that I'm not around enough. But they live in Pennsylvania. I'm in Maryland. Yes, it's only 2 hours away, but life happens to all of us, and that's the only excuse I can give. Congratulations, thank you, Karibo, doing great. That's good to hear. But I'm also playing Bleach Brave Souls since the 10-year anniversary is coming in like 2 months. Dope. Tengen Toppo Lagin has batshit scaling. I believe it. That's what's up, though. Good to hear. All right. So, I kind of want to get into what my agenda. I want to make me bigger a little bit. Let's make me a little bit bigger. There we go. So I kind of want to get into what my goals and agenda will be moving forward. There is a big disconnect between the 2 sides of anime scaling. I should say 3 sides of anime scaling. On one side, you have the Twitter heads that go back and forth all day on Twitter, online. Another side, you have the TikTok heads, which are more full of the, YNs and I want to say 21 and younger crowd. That's the more of the TikTok people you'll find. And then lastly, you have the YouTube side of Powerscaling. So what I want to do, what I would like to do at least, And this kind of ties into one of my other goals. Because while I'm going live on YouTube, I was also doing that restream thing where I would also like live stream the Twitch and TikTok at the same time. But my computer can't handle all that power. So I can't do them both. So what I'll be doing is going live on TikTok. I'm going to do my best at least once a week. Kind of like how I stream every 3 days out the week, whether that's Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, or Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Monday, Thursday, Friday, whatever. I try and do 3 streams throughout the week. I want to dedicate at least, not a day to TikTok, but a few hours out of a day to TikTok. And the reason I want to do that is because TikTok, at least from what I'm seeing, is where a lot of these bad arguments are bred, and where a lot of these bad arguments start from. For example, I was in a TikTok live stream today where they were debating Orochimaru versus all of One Piece. That makes sense to y'all? Orochimaru versus all of One Piece. Now, you can only get this idea that Orochimaru could do this if you don't know how to scale, number one, are scaling disingenuously, number two, and I was going to say scaling with an agenda, but that would kind of go into disingenuous scaling. Or dark horse option number 4, it's a combination of not knowing how to scale, being misled in your scaling edification as far as what, the things that you learned how to scale and who you learned it from. You might have been misinformed about how to scale. And the hard thing about scaling is that it's, number one, subjective, and it involves egos. I'm pretty sure there's an argument to be made that Orochimaru could beat all of One Piece, depending on how you argue it. So the first step would be to standardize scaling. Make it objective, not subjective. That would be the first step. I don't know how we're going to do any of this stuff, but I think if I can get people to agree to a set, like if I create a syllogism, right, and that's basically the basis of an argument, 2 premises and a conclusion. If I can get you to agree to the basis of the syllogism, then that should start to breed the road for a healthy conversation, because we're starting on truth rather than opinion. Going Lagoon scaling out Grand Priest and Zeno bending the knee, casually chucking universes around like frisbees. Going Lagoon is crazy. Ugh, I don't know if I want to read something like that. By the way, can we address how 1,000 Year Blood War got robbed by industry plant leveling? I don't know if it got robbed though, bro. I mean, I'll say, because when it comes to like anime awards and all that stuff, I don't really have a stake in it. Yes, I would like Bleach to win, but I'm not mad if Free Render wins or solo leveling wins or anything like that. It doesn't really bother me. TikTok is the new gen anime fans that just started getting into power scaling. That's an absolute fact. Most of the TikTok crowd is 21 and younger, is what I'm seeing. But they get a lot of their shit from the older YouTubers or the older power scalers, right? And even the way the debates go, like Yonin, I know you know this for a fact, Yonin. I sat on Tensei debating this one guy versus the conversation was, what's the technique called? Can Izanami trap Yhwach, right? It seems like it's a very basic, straightforward conversation. It should have went something like this. Well, Yhwach has the Almighty. If the Almighty is active, Yhwach can see every possible future, including one where Izanami is used, and negate Izanami. And then he would have argued, oh, well, Izanami can do this, fate manipulation, blah, blah, blah. It should have been very straightforward and within the confines of a power scaling debate. And when I say this is not a shot to anyone. It's just how things go, right? The conversation between Tensei and that guy divulged into such a meta conversation that it kind of got out of the scope of how the powers interacted and functioned. Now we have to start talking about, well, what is fate? What is destiny? And all these other side tangents, which might be important, but overall destroy what the argument was about. Right? Overall, it just kind of destroys what the argument was about. Not going to say it wasn't entertaining. It was entertaining. But at the end of it, I'm like, all right, so what's the conclusion now? And, you know, Orochimaru's getting washed. Yeah. Were they talking about current Orochimaru? You know what, Karibo? They actually didn't say. They didn't say which Orochimaru. They didn't say which Orochimaru. And what they did say, though, was they said Orochimaru could use the body swapping technique at will. They actually said this. They said he doesn't need a body prepped. He can just do that at will. This told me that you either didn't read the series, read it too fast, or misinterpreted something, because how you got to that conclusion, beyond me. TikTok breeds the argument of the Garganta overlapping the realms about, and Twitter heads ran with it. All right, hold up. All right, so real quick to address that, because it depends on how that argument is. You know what I mean? Real quick, let's harp on that real quick. It depends on how that argument is presented to me. When we say Garganta overlaps the realms, that wouldn't be wrong, but I need to understand how they're saying it. I need to understand how they're saying it, because in my video, where I have the Primordial Sea, Garganta, Precipice World, Soul Society, Hueco Mundo, and then the World of the Living last. You know, I'm doing it in terms of subtleness and grossness. So the higher or the lower density planes coming down to the higher density planes like Earth, Hueco Mundo, Soul Society. And then you get more subtle with the Precipice World, because it's a layer in between of those worlds. And then you get even more subtle with the Garganta, which can access all those places. So when you say overlapping, is that what you mean by overlapping? Or do you mean like they're saying the Garganta is a fucking blanket on all of them and it's physically like manifested? You know what I mean? It kind of depends on how you argue it. Ab-stract, I have a hot take. Soul Society arc, Let's Steal Uryu, is basically 1,000 Year Blood War Uryu tier, just without the shrift. Soul Society arc, Let's Steal Uryu, is basically 1,000 Year Blood War Uryu tier, just without the shrift. Mayuri does not train. He just develops new gadgets to fight. For the most part, that is true. I don't know if I can address that right now, because we're kind of in the middle of cooking between, you know, kind of what I want to do. But let's see. I thought that's why you bought up Gurren Lagann. One smart, no, just like Gurren. No version of Orochimaru soloing One Piece. Yeah, no version. Current Orochimaru is kind of a monster. He can be a monster all he wants, Karibo. He's not soloing One Piece. But like, these are the kind of things that need to stop being perpetuated on TikTok. I know exactly what debate you're referring to. Yeah, bro. Because I was in there and I was just listening, and I'm like, mind you, even when he had that conversation with Bull on Twitter, where we all kind of joined in, it was a dope conversation. It was cool. But sometimes it just gets out of the realm of what we're supposed to be actually covering. And it's not bad all the time, but on TikTok, that is the norm. You're going to go into fucking morals and meta ethics and all these other fucking intangible things that we have to discuss and talk about. And at that point, it's not about who's right. It's really about who can debate better, which I don't have a problem with necessarily. But For me, I like debates in order to get to the fucking truth. If you have to slide your way to the truth, if you have to fake the funk, if you gotta like do all these roundabout things, smoke and mirrors, red herring, and fucking side tangents, and you gotta do all these things, it's not. I'll decline to have the conversation, because at the end of the day, we have two different goals. You're just trying to be right. I'm trying to provably be right. I'm not trying to play games. I'm not trying to play games with people. Don't got time for that. Considering Yhwach activating the Almighty undid what Ichigo's Bankai did to him, Izanami isn't keeping him in a loop. So, like, Mobley, you can say that, right? But then someone on the Naruto side is going to be like, well, Izanami's fate manipulation, and as soon as Yhwach goes to change the fate, Izanami's going to kick in. Like, that's going to happen. Like, that's fine, as long as we keep it there. Once we get into, like, past that realm of conversation, it's no longer fun. It's no longer interesting. You've missed the point completely. They were treating Orochimaru like Captain Ginyu. Oh no. Yeah, Karibo. It was bad, bro. It was bad. They said this, Karibo. They said when Orochimaru was fighting Hiruzen and he peeled his face and it showed that girl/boy child or whatever, they said that was him enacting the body swapping ritual jutsu. That's what they said. Now, mind you, I was at the gym. I would have loved to pull up to that live. I would have loved nothing more than to pull up to that live and just have a conversation. But thankfully, the people that were there kind of shared my sentiments and were holding it down. But how do you get that idea? How? Doesn't make fucking sense to me. The way they're saying is the realms are all planets in one universe. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah. So if they're saying the plane one universe and they're going to vibes the one universe where the planes exist. Yeah, okay, yeah, that's garbage, that's trash, that's ass, that's not supported, it's wrong, it's incorrect. There's so much fucking evidence against that. Boy, oh boy. But you're saying that argument originated from TikTok. That's crazy to me. This is what I mean. Yes, like a blank. Because it stated that the Lestiel fully utilizes Quincy's latent potential. See, but that was his latent potential before he got Yhwach's blood. We got to factor that in too. So that's the only thing I factor in. That's mad wrong on so many levels. Give Orochimaru Rinnegan and Hashirama cells, and he's still a Kaido victim. Yeah, not like, and that's one other thing too. Like, when I do start to join these TikTok live debates, because it's something I will do, because I do want to grow the channel. I do want to have. How do I want to say this? I want to grow the channel through TikTok and through YouTube, and to do that, going live is the best thing. And it's also fun. I'm not gonna lie, it is kind of fun debating about some of these things, but it has to be done right, bro. Like, we're not just about to sit here and yap, and you have your way of scaling and I have my way of scaling. No, when I start my lives, we're gonna come to a common understanding of what scaling is. I'm gonna make you define AP and give me examples. I'm going to make you define DC. I'm going to make you stand on everything that you're saying. You're going to have to stand on it. When you say Chakra scales the durability, you're going to have to stand on that. You're going to have to face all the evidence I have against that and then refute it. You're going to have to do that. Like, I see the way people run their lives, and I get why it gets so fucking chaotic and hectic. You guys don't have a metric for what's going to be right or correct. For example, you know what they said? They said this about the Orochimaru feat. They said in the novel, Orochimaru uses the summoning jutsu, and he summons a body to switch into. That's what they said. And they said this happened in a novel. When you're talking to me, novel scaling is not acceptable. Why? Novels are among the weakest of information and give us the least they give us the least account of what's going on. For example, Naruto dodged the photon. Okay, first off, aside from that being a complete fucking ridiculous feat, how far was Naruto from this photon that he dodged? To what degree did he dodge it? Did he aim dodge it since it's being shot from a rifle? So many things we don't know because we don't have actual panels and pictures to show and demonstrate what is going on. I like novels for lore. I like novels for supporting information. Like I said, I've used them before, especially in the case of me scaling the Bleach cosmology. You have never seen me use them for scaling, though. In my lives, we will not scale with the novels. Hold up, let me get rid of this, because I'm really just looking at myself at this point. Actually, you know what? I might just turn this into a yap session day. We might just be yapping today. Yeah. In my lives, we will not scale with the novels. Not going to happen. Let me see what we're talking about. That's mad wrong. Give it wrong. Hey, what's good, Espada? How you doing, bro? Welcome. Hello. Welcome back, my boy. Yes, sir. What's good, bro? And we got Grit in here. What's up? Yhwach's blood and coming into contact with his soul would have increased the Uryu's potential, though. That's true. That's what I said, actually. So let's steal Uryu would be closer to like Lost Agent Arc Uryu. Okay, I think that's fair. Huh? How do you even come to that conclusion? Blanket. They're destroying a pseudo-god tree, a healing factor better than Victor's, and the novels imply so relatively with Sage Mode Hokage Naruto. Not gonna lie, if Simon from Gourd Lagoon was dropped into One Piece and given Hayashoku, that would be deadly. We some motherfucking squids and we some motherfucking goblins. Okay, what's a goomba? What's that goon to a goblin? Nothing. Novels are typically questioning canonicity as well. The Bleach light novels are only considered canon because Kubo himself... Yeah, my fault. Let me say this. They can be canon. And even that's kind of strange because I like to... Like, unless the author wrote it himself or gave his blessing to the people and said, hey, treat my pen as this guy's pen, and it was overseen like that, then I can accept that as canon. But if you're just having Joe Schmo write the Hedons or the light novels and shit like that, I don't have to accept that. There's no reason I have to accept that. Because his information and how he views the story isn't how you view the story. And you're the creator of it. So it's kind of, Bleach novel is 100% canon. They use Shinji's Bankai, which one here. Plus in the Hell Arc, they mention the events of Shunsui Bankai, making it canon. Along with that, Kubo stated he worked in it. Yeah, I have no problem with that stuff. Right? But overall, the point is, I want to ground how this stuff is done. Like when we're debating about a series, we should understand the terms we're using first. First, we should understand the terms we're using. Secondly, we're going to understand how we're going to be scaling these characters. Are novels allowed? Are data books allowed? Are we taking statements as true, despite not having any feats behind the statements? Because if we're taking, guys, if I'm not triple AP scaling Bleach, meaning as accurate and consistent as possible, if I'm not triple AP scaling Bleach, they get to universal very easily. They do. Very easily. But I like to look at AP. I like to focus on DC. I like to focus on actual durability. Right? But that's not everyone's goal. Not everyone likes to hone in on those specific things and make an argument around the facts of the matter. And another thing is the scaling has really just become super fucking lazy. It's super lazy. Now all of a sudden everyone is light speed. I saw them in that same conversation. They were talking about Orochimaru. They were debating Lightspeed Naruto. And Yo was like, yeah, Naruto, the series gets Lightspeed at Haku. And his argument was, well, Naruto reacted to Haku. And it's like, bro, all right, first off, it's completely wrong, but let's just take your thing. Even your own damn data book says Haku is Lightspeed moving in between his mirrors. Not mirror to ground, not mirror to Naruto, not mirror to Sasuke, mirror to mirror. And no one ever reacted to him. No one ever reacted to him moving mirror to mirror. And if they did react to him, it was when Sasuke noted that he was slowly slowing down. Now, mind you, Sasuke didn't say he was slowly slowing down. What he said was he's slowly, and the implication was that Haku was slowing down. So yeah, that will be one of my goals for the next couple months. I want to go live one time a week at the very least. If it's fun, I'll do it more. But I want to go live at least one time a week on TikTok and debate some of these things. I think the first thing I'm going to be debating is Genjutsu working cross-verse. Genjutsu working cross-verse. I had someone under my videos comment, it's big 2025, and Lil Bro still thinks Genjutsu can't work cross-verse. And then me and him got into a discussion. First off, I don't like that disrespectful shit calling me Lil Bro. That shit's annoying, first off. I smack you. So that's the first thing. But like stuff like that, it's big 2025. Well, I can say the same thing. It's big 2025 and you think Genjutsu is working cross-verse. I can say the same thing. So I think that'll be the first discussion that I actually cover on the TikTok lives. Will Genjutsu work cross-verse? Why or why not? Let's see what we yap about. Oh God, blackface in 4K. That's crazy, Mobley. Chill on me, bro. I gotta recheck the novel one. I remember Naruto explaining going over it. And by the way, the novel doesn't do much to any scaling. It only gives 1 feat for Zaraki, which is burning the walls of time, space of the Garganta. Oh, that's crazy. And that's not far from what he did versus Grammar, so yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Like, I like novels as story. Oh, Karibo, by the way, Karibo. I did actually read, or I'm reading the Kakashi novel where he is actually in the land of, where he's fighting those ice ninja and stuff. I am actually reading that. Thank you for the link to that. It's actually pretty good. Not gonna lie. It doesn't really help him versus Toshiro, but it's actually pretty good. To be fair, Shueisha, the official publisher of Naruto, have about as much authority, at least in legal setting, as Kishimoto put those novels on in official manga timelines. Okay. So then, if that's true, and they have the same standing, and they can decide what is canon as well as Kishimoto, if that's true, then fine. What I would do in that instance is we would either agree to use all novels or none of the novels, but it has to be talked about first. Like, you can't just you can't just have a conversation where I'm strictly speaking to manga things and manga feats. Because when I was like, hey, when did Orochimaru ever summon a body? Ever in Naruto? And then switch into the body. Oh, what happened to the light novel? Well, there goes my whole goddamn argument, because I was talking only about the manga and you're here bouncing to the light novel. Right? So the main point about that stuff is, before we have any diatribe about these scaling discussions, versus battles and stuff, we have to understand the things we're talking about. We have to understand this thing that's talking about first and foremost. Definitions are important. The type of scaling we're going to be doing is important. What we're going to be allowing will be important. All these things factor in. Because, like I said, you can probably get Orochimaru to wherever the fuck you need him to be if you're scaling with every fucking thing and just using disingenuous things. So he actually did say that in the Q&A. Do you have the question number for it? I want a picture of him saying it so there aren't any no he didn't. The anime shrank Shinji's Bankai range in comparison to the novel implications. I don't know. Okay. I feel like I'm in an anime class, assassination classroom style. That's dope. That means there's a lot of information being passed on. So that's dope. BRB, homie. I'm Team One Punch Man. Got you. By the way, I've had a fan theory for years. It holds zero water and makes no sense, but I like to believe it anyway. And that theory is, let's hear it, bro. I just want it for my own personal collection. Okay. C.T. Smith from Zombie Powder, Kubo's first serialized manga, and Robert Akutron, the stern reader that shot out Shinsui's eye, are the same person. Ooh. That sounds interesting. C.T. Smith. That sounds interesting. I'm going to look into that. Please don't call bud, buddy, or nephew. Ha ha. That's what I'm saying, bro. Like, don't little bro me. I hate that shit so fucking much. That shit is annoying. I hate it when all these little kids started trying to say little bro when they tried to argue. So confident at first, but when I cooked They have a sudden look of crazy. Yeah, facts. And that's what it's about too, bro. Like, even on my Twitter interactions, I'm always respectful. I'm always chill. I'm always, you know what I mean? Like, I'm going to treat you like an adult for the most part. When you start acting weird and getting out of your body, I got to be like, all right, hold up. Hey, bro, how old are you? And then if it's like you're 17, I'll be like, okay, cool. We can give him a break because he's still young. But when older niggas also be acting weird, like sometimes I'm like, hey, bro, how old are you? Real quick. This has nothing to do with the conversation, but how old are you? Because you're throwing insults my way. You're saying all this stuff when we're really having a conversation about anime. How old are you? He'll be like, I'm 25. I'm like, bro, you're 25 and anime got you acting like this? You need to calm down. It'd be crazy. If you consider the novel canon, there's evidence of Bleach characters having resistance to illusions. If you do argue Genjutsu against Bleach characters, even though you'll be arguing it can't work. I'm gonna read that again. If you do argue Genjutsu against Bleach characters, even though you'll be arguing it can't work cross-verse, like illusions controlling 5 senses like Genjutsu would. So here's the thing. Well, let me read this first. Just started the first Camp for Your Own World. Do you know which one it was in, or was it like Spirits are forever with you? Camp for Your Own World. Yeah, so real quick, I'll get to that, Mugetsu. I'll show you guys my actual basis for this stuff, because I'm not just about to go on TikTok unprepared and shit like that, right? So, when talking about Genjutsu working cross-verse, these are my notes. These are kind of what will be my points and my talking points and my arguments, so to speak. So to start off, I'll have these special notes here as a reminder to start off with, right? First one says, always concede that real-time illusions work. Mental attacks will not. Why is that important? Because in debate, if I leave out that real-time illusions can't or can work, if I leave that out, that they can work, during the argument, when I'm cooking someone, they might actually bring up like, well, oh, this genjutsu worked on them and it didn't affect their chakra system. And we know it didn't affect their chakra system because they didn't have to get out the genjutsu a regular way. So that leaves the door open for, right? Oh, you guys can't even see me. Haha, that's funny. I guess I'll put my face back. Order. Let's move me back. Actually, no. I'll just close a little bit. All right. So yeah, starting off a conversation with Genjutsu, we're going to have to concede that real-time illusions will work, because all a real-time illusion is doing is projecting an image into reality, or projecting something into reality that is false. That's all it's doing. It's really not that big a deal. I don't mind conceding it because we've seen it work on people without affecting their chakra network. That's absolutely fine with me. The second thing that I'll have to bring up before them, and these are called like pre-buttles, right? The second thing I'll be bringing up, and you guys, can you guys see it? You guys can see it a little bit. Let me zoom in for you guys, though. I can't even zoom in. That's weird. Let me close it. I can't zoom in on my screen? All right, that's weird. I'll just have to read it to you guys, and you guys will just have to kind of like take it. Thanks for zooming out. Your head was reminding me of the Crimson Bailiff from Guts, Berserk. That's hilarious. Anyways, so the second thing that I'll have to bring up before they bring it up, before they think they got one over on me, is the fact that Biju don't need a chakra network. Why? Because they are living masses and lumps of chakra itself. The fact that they're living masses of chakra it would mean, not even would mean, they wouldn't be required to have the complex system that humans who are not chakra wouldn't have. Right? But I've been in arguments where people have said, well, the tailed beasts don't have chakra networks. Genjutsu works on them. This is not the same. The tailed beast are chakra, which can be manipulated. This is not the same, right? So I've got a pretty good analogy to break down how all this stuff works regarding Genjutsu. By the way, I call you Onk as a joke, not as an insult. Low-key, I think I might be older than you, although I turned 26 in April. Nah, I got you, bro. It's all good. I know it's all fun and games. I always make fun of myself as far as the age stuff. And no, you're actually not. You're like 2 years old younger than me, bro. No, I'm 20. You know, I'm 28. I'm 28. So yeah, you're like 2 years younger than me, bro. That example you're talking about sounds like the Mizukage with the giant clam Genjutsu. Exactly. Strange because it actually had physical presence about it. Well, what do you mean it had physical presence about it? What do you mean by it had physical presence about it? Because as far as the clam Genjutsu goes, it released a mist that caused mirages. Now, no one's chakra network was affected. No one had to deactivate a Genjutsu. None of that stuff. It was just projecting illusions in the world. I was in a debate with someone who tried to say Genjutsu would work on Bleach characters because Obito was able to do it to a perfect Jinchuriki. Like, why would that, like, when people make those arguments, where is the basis? Where does the leap in logic come from Obito perfect Jinchuriki to Bleach character who has none of these things that the Naruto person has? It just doesn't make sense to me. But real quick, let's get into my analogy and how I'm going to combat Genjutsu working cross-verse. So, if you were here for one of the last live streams where me and Karibo were talking about Genjutsu, actually, it was all of us versus Karibo pretty much on Genjutsu. We were discussing that all chakra, when it comes to humans, when it comes to people in Naruto, all chakra necessarily must flow through the chakra network. Right? Because the chakra network carries chakra through all parts of the body. Cool. So, this is where my analogy comes in. I would explain it like this, and I kind of wrote it down. So, explaining the necessity of a system. Think of chakra like electricity, and the chakra network like an electrical circuit system. Yes, you can put electricity into an object, like a metal rod, and it will hold or conduct it to some extent. That doesn't mean if you take that same metal rod that has electricity and put it on a TV, that it will turn on the TV or that'll turn on the computer. Why? Because electricity needs a design circuit with proper connections, resistors, conductors, and a power source. Right? They have to flow in a specific pattern that allows a function to be activated. Similarly, just because chakra is inserted into a person, that doesn't mean a Genjutsu will be triggered. After all, chakra is just energy, like electricity. But the chakra network is what defines how that energy moves within a living system to produce meaningful effects, like Genjutsu, ninjutsu, or even medical healing, right? So, if you insert chakra randomly into someone's ear, that's like shoving a live wire into a machine and expecting it to turn on. Right? So we understand without the proper connection to the internal circuit, aka the chakra network, there's no guarantee that the chakra will reach the brain, let alone activate a Genjutsu. Because you have to understand, right? If we're told chakra moves throughout the body using these things are like pressure valves that push chakra. If you just randomly insert chakra into my eyes, my ears, however it gets into my body, what then would be able to have that chakra move throughout the body? What would it be? That would be my question. Right? And so some possible counter arguments that I've even ran into have people said, oh, well, Genjutsu affects the mind. And if chakra reaches the brain, why wouldn't that work? Well, we have to start with the beginning, right? Reaching the brain isn't enough. Just like sending a current near a light bulb doesn't turn it on. Just like taking live electricity and touching a TV with it doesn't power it. That doesn't guarantee Genjutsu will work. There's a system in play for a reason, right? Like there has to be a structured integration for these things, which is what the chakra network provides. Saying random chakra in the head is the same as chakra flowing through a neural linked network is it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. And then like another thing you might hear someone say is, oh, chakra doesn't need a chakra network to flow. It's just energy. That's correct. I agree with you. Chakra can exist without a network. No disagreement there. But for the function of Genjutsu, right, we're talking about a complex thing. Because like people say, oh, people can imbue chakra into rocks and water style and manipulate it. That's fine. I'm not disagreeing that chakra can be injected into things. But the thing we're talking about is a human being that has a complex system that allows for chakra to flow the way it does. So if you don't necessarily have that system, then chakra isn't necessarily flowing to the parts of the body that you need it to flow to for Genjutsu to work. So that's basically how I'm going to be attacking this whole thing. That's essentially how I'll be attacking this whole thing. Yeah. Let's check chat. Oh, let me get my drink. Most Genjutsu need verse equalization to work crossverse, but verse equalization is its own insane bag of tricks to deal with. Yeah, absolutely. Eon did a video on verse equalization, I think, and what's the guy's name? SteinXO did a video on verse equalization, and they pretty much captured everything that is wrong with verse equalization because it inherently puts one verse at a disadvantage while strengthening another verse. It just naturally does. You can't have it 100% fair or equal in any way for the most part, which is why it really shouldn't. Well, I'll say this, which is why it has to be agreed upon before you even have a discussion. I've had conversations with people where they say, well, verse equalization is presumed. Why the fuck would it be presumed, my guy? Why would I allow Genjutsu to work on Bleach characters when they don't have the necessary mechanics of a Naruto character? Why would I allow that? Right? And then they'll be like, oh well, none of the reiatsu attacks will work on anyone outside of Bleach. Why? Tell me why. What caveat does reiatsu have that I don't know about? Please let me know. And then it'll turn into that. It's like, no, bro, your shit doesn't work. I'm sorry. Nadine Main. Yo, what's good, bro? How are you? I don't think I've seen you in here before, Nadine. How you doing? You ever stop and think why the fuck is Hirzune's monkey summon so much different than any other summoning jutsu in the series? It's blatantly smarter, acts of its own accord, and even has a leaf headband. Now, I've actually never stopped to think about it. It is kind of weird. But I'm guessing Enma comes from the Shikotsu woods. Usually only lower level summonings have village headbands, but Enma is very clearly an extremely high tier summon. I had to constantly tell him that Obito alone has those feats, but there's no evidence that anyone and everyone that uses Genjutsu has those same feats. We don't even know what he did specifically. Wouldn't it work in some universes but not others? No, I'm sorry, Robert. It wouldn't work in some universes and not others. If we're basing Genjutsu off of getting to the brain, if Genjutsu's primary objective is to get to the brain and mess with your cranial nerves, which control your perception, if that's what we're basing Genjutsu off of, it would have to necessarily follow a track to get there and do that. The track that it follows in Naruto is the chakra circulatory system that carries chakra throughout the whole body. If a universe or if a character does not have this system, if you're putting chakra in them, what's to say it doesn't dissipate immediately? What's to say it just doesn't get stuck where it was injected and goes no further than that? Like, that system is integral for jutsu to be enacted. I saw, when I was doing research for this, I saw a panel where Kabuto cut off Naruto's chakra network to the Nine Tails, where he got his healing factor from. And guess what? Naruto couldn't heal anymore because his chakra network to the Nine Tails had been disconnected. So that's also something you have to consider. Like, their actual autonomy runs on this chakra network. It's actually impacted by the chakra network to a high degree. You put Simon Digger in Genjutsu, he just absorbed the Genjutsu world into himself and get out. By the way, Ab-stract, do you think that one puppet jutsu that was used like once and never again, where the user put chakra threads on someone else to manipulate them, work across verse? Are you talking about like Puppet Master Jutsu, like where Chiyo manipulated Sakura? Do I think that would work cross-verse? I see no reason why that wouldn't work cross-verse. The only caveat would be, is the puppet user's jutsu stronger than the person that they're controlling? That'd be the only caveat. Here's a good question for you. Can stand users see Shinigami? You know, I've been meaning to watch JoJo. My girlfriend watched JoJo. She loved it. She liked it a lot. I've been meaning to watch it. Once I start watching it, I can better answer that question. Stands see spirits. They should. Okay, if they can see spirits, they should be able to see. They should be able to see them. Then yeah, no issue with that. Fun fact: the kanji used for stands translates to ghostly ripple. Ham energy is called ghostly. Does that mean there's some connection? Hard to say, man. I don't know. I gotta get into JoJo. So yeah, guys. First things first for my agenda is going live on TikTok and debating Genjutsu crossverse. That's number one. The second thing that I'll be tackling, and this will probably be like maybe 2 months or maybe a month after I've run the Genjutsu conversation into the ground. We're going to get into Universal Naruto. We're going to be talking about Kaguya. We're going to be talking about, first off, no. What we're going to be talking about is durability. I'm still seeing online that people think chakra scales to durability and chakra techniques scale to the person. I'm still seeing this. So apparently my Naruto durability video didn't have a wide enough impact. So I'll be going live to debate durability in the Naruto universe. And it's really easy to debate, right? All you have to do is start at the basis of what chakra is. Once we discover that chakra is an amp and not a stat gauge, the whole argument logically, or I should say trivially, follows from there. If chakra is an amp and not a stat gauge, that means no matter how much chakra you have at your disposal, that will not be your strength. Your strength will come from how you can manipulate that chakra to your advantage. But Ab-stract, why are these two things different? What makes them so different? I'll tell you. If chakra is stats, then that means it scales accordingly without it being put to actual use. Why is that important? Well, because something called chakra control exists. Chakra control determines how effective you're going to be at using each amp to any degree. Right? For example, and then it gets even crazier because we have things like natural talent, or we have things like being more physically gifted. For example, Sakura had the best chakra control out of Naruto and Sasuke during the Land of Waves arc. She did. It's a fact. Sakura was still slower than both Naruto and Sasuke because they were naturally stronger and faster than her. Right? So her, and this gets into a whole nother cipher of just having better chakra control doesn't necessitate better stats than someone with worse chakra control, which also means that we have to grade and base these things on a feat to feat basis. At no point does having more chakra than somebody or better chakra control necessitate or dictate that you are actually stronger than them. because there's just too many factors to factor in. You have natural talent, you have chakra control, you have chakra quantity. You know what I mean? You have too many things that we can't readily see or account for. So yeah, going back to the main point. Chakra is not stats. Chakra is an energy supply that can be used to amp stats. This also means that if I have more chakra than you, I'm not automatically faster than you, right? And then once we establish that chakra itself is not stats, right? Once we establish that, you switch it up on them. You ask them, hey, so in this series, when is it stated, suggested, or shown that chakra like actually scales to your durability? I've checked the entire series. You'll never find a statement. I know this. So they're going to start pointing to things like, oh, well, Obito was able to block Suigetsu's sword. Cool. I'll say this. Cool. Obito was able to block Suigetsu's sword. Cool. I knew this was coming. Tell me where it was stated, suggested, or shown he blocked that sword because of a difference in chakra. Tell me it was stated, suggested, or shown he blocked that sword because he enhanced his body with chakra. Because that'll be the next thing. Oh, well, it doesn't scale to it, but they can reinforce their bodies with chakra. Cool. Tell me in the story where that's stated, suggested, or shown that Naruto characters can enhance their bodies with chakra in the manga. Right? We gotta keep them to the manga. If we want to go to the light novels, I'm aware of a Sakura feat that exists. That's fine. We can go to the light novels, but I'm going to keep it to the manga. I'm gonna keep it to the manga. So that'll be the second thing. Right? And then they'll be like this. Oh, well, chakra has to scale to durability because Madara couldn't hold the amount of chakra that Kaguya could, and he exploded. So therefore, he's less durable. And then I have to have a conversation about pressure and how that if you've ever seen a pipe burst, that was due to the internal pressure of that pipe not being able to withstand the amount of water that was being run through it. This does not mean if you take that same amount of water that busted that pipe and drop it on that pipe, it's going to damage the pipe. Does that make sense? If I take the same amount of chakra that Madara was about to explode to, and I drop it on Madara, hypothetically, theoretically, is Madara going to be injured by that chakra? No. Why? For many reasons. Number one, it's not an attack. Number two, you're dealing with the minute values of the thing and not an actual concentrated effort of the thing or a concentrated force of the thing. You're only dealing with the small values of the thing that's causing the disruption within the body. So it's actually an internal problem. Madara exploding from over chakra, from having too much chakra, and Kaguya not exploding just means Kaguya can contain more energy within her body. It doesn't necessitate that her durability scales to that energy, though. Because if that's true, you would also have to agree, and we can even use us as humans, you would also have to agree that if I get a blood transfusion and I get too much blood in my body to where I explode, you would have to agree that if you dropped that same amount of blood on me, that I would die from it. You would have to agree to that. Because after all, I couldn't withstand it. It blew me apart. But you would quickly realize how stupid that was once you realized, well, oh, it's not that he can't handle it. It's literally that his internal body can't contain that much fucking blood. So that's another stupid argument that I can't wait to actually talk about because people have been peddling that shit for years and it's actually pissing me off even thinking about it. The very idea, oh, well, her chakra scales to her durability because Madara overloaded on chakra, so therefore her durability scales to that. That's not how it works. That's not how it works. I gotta take you back to third grade and tell you how pressure buildup works. Have you ever blown a balloon to max capacity until it popped? Take that same wind pressure and throw it at the balloon. The balloon's not going to pop. The balloon's not going to break. It's not going to tear. Nothing's going to happen to the balloon. So yeah, that's going to be one that's probably going to piss me off the most because I know they're going to argue in bad faith. I understand they're going to be disingenuous. But the idea is to get more people thinking along this line of thought and more so get people to the channel so we can have better discussions and stuff. That'll be the main point of these lives. Convert viewers to followers. That'll be the main point of those lives. Well, the main point will be to educate, right? Secondary goal, convert viewers to followers. And do that by being honest. Have honest discussions. Have honest scaling. Open people's eyes to the fucking truth. If you genuinely think that your internal durability from overload on pressure somehow scales to your physical outwardly durability, you've misunderstood what's going on. We can take Aizen. Aizen was about to be incinerated by his own reiatsu. Are we to say that if we took that reiatsu and blasted it at Aizen that he would die from it? You know how stupid you sound if you were to say that? We understand. I'm not even going to go into it. I think y'all get it. Let's see what we've been yapping about. Shinigami and hollows are invisible to people who can see souls. To be for real, Shinigami and hollows are invisible to people who can see souls. Child Ichigo. Yuzu, Tatsuki. Oh, yeah, you're right, actually. You are actually correct. They couldn't see hollows. You're correct. Not gonna lie, Naruto durability so fodder. Adam Sandler's character from Click unironically can beat Knife Verse in reverse just by pressing pause on the remote and slapping them. Ninjutsu scaling to your physicals is just blatantly wrong. The first databook explicitly states that one of the advantages of ninjutsu is allowing one to overcome a physically stronger opponent. There you go. There you go. Everything should be measured on a feet-to-feet basis, no matter the series. Yes, Karibo, but here's the thing. I completely agree with you. But here's the thing when scaling Naruto. And it sounds like I'm getting in Naruto's ass, but it's because people have misappropriated how the scaling is supposed to work for that show. And they've completely derailed it, the story, the narrative scaling. They've lied about it. Here's the thing. And let me just use other series as an example. I'll just use Bleach, because every time I use Dragon Ball, Karibo likes to clap back with, oh, well, this didn't happen. And, so I'll just use Bleach. Let me get a drink. When Ikaku tanked Edorad's attack, that left a pretty decent sized crater and vaporized it. When he did that, that let me know, based on how reiatsu works, that anyone stronger than Ikaku can tank that attack. I don't need to see a feat of Toshiro now tanking Edorad's attack, because Toshiro has way more reiatsu than Ikaku. And reiatsu does in fact scale with your stats. Right? So that's what I'm talking about. Let's take it to another example. I almost want to use the Raikage, but it's already stated he has stronger skin than everyone else, so I won't use him. Let's do another example, though. Let's see. Sakura. Let's take Sakura. Sakura has the highest AP striking feat in the series. Bar none. Hands down. Maybe aside from Naruto punching Toneri on the moon and cracking the moon surface. Right? That they punch harder than Sakura. I can't say that. I can't say that without a feat. I can't say that without a feat. Doesn't make sense to say. And if you take any durability example in Naruto, it will actually, the durability won't actually change all that much. But yeah, the Naruto cases have to be on a feet by feet basis. If someone has more chakra than Sasuke, well, let's not even do Sasuke. If someone has more chakra than Kakashi, that doesn't necessitate faster than Kakashi, like Kasame. And we know this because chakra control is a thing. So we can't just go in the thing expecting, well, I can scale Kasame's speed off of this because he has more chakra. No, we can't do that. It has to be a feet by feet basis for them. I mean, for everybody, yes, but you know what I feel like you know what I'm talking about. I'm rambling. Let me read the comments. The literal most important jutsu in the series, the Rasengan and Chidori, explicitly allow Naruto, Sasuke, and Kakashi to one-shot or severely harm people blatantly stronger than them. And then, Grid, even with that, in Naruto, when you really get down to it, when we say stronger than, right, all we really mean is that they're better ninja. All we really mean when we say stronger than is that they're better ninja. Because these people aren't objectively stronger than them. Or else they wouldn't be able to even beat them with Chidori and Rasengan. It doesn't, let's do it like this. It doesn't matter how strong fucking Ikkaku gets with his Bankai. The fact that he is objectively stronger than Zaraki, Aizen, and Ichigo, he will never beat them. It doesn't matter. This is not the case for Naruto. Konohamaru can run up on Madara and kill him. It's possible. It's in the realm of possibility. This cannot happen in Bleach because the power actually decides your potency. So when we say they're able to one-shot stronger people, it's like, stronger, no. Better ninja, yeah. You can one-shot better ninja than you. Stronger ninja? No, there aren't really any stronger ninja. Like, it's almost an oxymoron when you say stronger ninja. Everyone's, like, I really hate this. Everyone's base is really the fucking same. Kakuzu, let you guys tell it, or Karibo at least. Let Karibo tell it. Kakuzu can box with the 3 tails or the 2 tails or whatever. Okay, and then Kakashi can box with Kakuzu. So therefore Kakashi boxes with the fucking 3 tails? Or 2 tails, whatever. Matatabi, whatever. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Yeah, doesn't make sense. The first databook also puts Hiruzen's speed on a 3 out of 5 and Sasuke's at a 4 out of 5. Part 1, Sasuke not faster than Hiruzen. Exactly. The databook's stats have never been stated or even somewhat implied to be for cross-character comparison. They're entirely individualistic. Shino versus Izanagi in the semifinals of the Chunin exam is a blatant showcase of pressure bursting. Oh my fucking gosh. Thank you. Thank you, Mobley. Exactly so. And that is like whenever I hear that argument of Kaguya has higher durability because she scales to her chakra. Madara couldn't control her chakra, so her durability has to be higher. It's like, what? Well, did you like hear yourself? Did you actually even think about the logic that you just tried to go through? And did it actually make sense, or are you just arguing it? Are you just arguing to argue it, or did you like fact check it against yourself? Did you have anyone vet this information? These are the things that like kind of peeve me. Hey, yo, what's good, Shinigami? How you doing, bro? How's everyone and what we doing right now? We talking, bro. We just yapping. I kind of just went over my plans for the next couple months. What I'll be doing, I'm going to be doing some TikTok invasions. I'm going to be going live, talking about Genjutsu working crossverse and talking about the Naruto versus durability and how they're not universal, scaling off of their chakra, and chakra doesn't scale to stats. It's going to be hard and annoying to do, not because, it's hard to argue, but mainly because there's a lot of tactics that people might use to try and undermine the point, which is fine, right? I don't want to make it seem like I'm crying about anything. That's fine. Do what you got to do. But that's also the reason why we're going to have a understanding of the conversation before it's even had. I'm going to have you define AP and DC first. First, I need to understand that you understand what you're talking about when you say AP and DC. Secondly, I'm going to have you define chakra. And we're going to be talking about chakra a lot. We're going to be talking about what is chakra, the properties of chakra, how does it work, what are its limitations, what have we seen it do, what have we seen it not do, in what cases have we seen it do it. Because when we're talking about Biju, that can actually wear chakra like an armor, that's a lot different than Shinobi, who can't actually do that. Right? So, yeah. We're going to be talking about a lot. I know the most Dragon Ball examples of someone being off guard. In Dragon Ball, greater ki wins, but ki is lower when you're off guard. Yeah. And then, so, Kariba, with that, bro, I feel like you always use the Dragon Ball example to attempt to debunk me. But all that means for Dragon Ball is that they weren't having their energy at its peak on guard. That's all that would mean for Dragon Ball. It wouldn't mean that they don't scale to their energy. It wouldn't mean that it's still not power versus power. It just means their power wasn't active at the time it happened. This isn't the same with Naruto. People will always say, Naruto characters only get hurt when they're caught off guard. No, the fuck they don't. They get hurt on guard and off guard, and there's multitude of feats that'll show that. Multitude of feats that'll show that. And then with Naruto, I'll be like, okay, well, Conan was able to like pretty much almost one-shot Obito, if we're being real. Like if one were to hit his head, if one were to hit his head directly, I'm pretty sure he could die from that shit. I'm pretty sure he could die from that shit. Right? But then you start thinking, well, I mean, Obito is clearly stronger than Conan. But then again, wink, wink, not really stronger. Better ninja, not really stronger. He's a better ninja. Obito was clearly stronger than Conan. He should have more chakra than Conan. But then that would have to be another aspect of the conversation if we're arguing stats scale with chakra. That'd be another aspect of the conversation. But most people would probably have been in that point because by this point, most people do understand that chakra alone doesn't scale with your stats. It is actually the manipulation. It's more of an amp and not a set thing. So the thing will be, oh, well, Obito was off guard. He couldn't put chakra to his head for defense. Well, okay, cool. Can you show me anyone in the manga putting chakra to any part of their body to increase defense specifically outside of a Biju cloak? I will hear crickets. It will go silent. Guaranteed. Is he cutting out or is it just me? I hope I'm not cutting out. It buffered for like 2 to 3 seconds, but just that brief pause. The audio was cutting out. He was talking about waving his arm with no sound and off like 30 seconds. Conan is underrated. I don't have any of that. Yeah, I don't know, Karibo. I'll say this though. I am in a hotel, so forgive me if the Wi-Fi is kind of trash. Not my fault. Not my fault. Also, John Drago, or John Dro 56. Welcome to the channel. I don't think I've ever seen you here. Shake my hand. Okay, thank you, sir. Yeah. Let me know, John. Have you liked what you've been hearing so far? Am I making sense? Or do I sound crazy? Do I sound like a hater? I hope I don't sound like a hater. Because here's the thing. I love Naruto. I love it. Not as much as I love Bleach. But I love Naruto. What I don't like about the fan base of Naruto is that they've misappropriated the scaling. Now they scale with agendas to have the verse be as strong as possible. And they've kind of ignored every narrative point that goes with the series. Shakes. I hope it's not shaking. But alright, so it's 9:15. I wanted to watch some videos tonight. But I kind of got into my little rant, which was fun. I don't regret getting into a rant. That was really fun, actually. Because I haven't talked to you guys in a while, so I feel really good yapping with y'all. Where is that? Where is it? I know I put my videos that I wanted to watch here. Where'd I put them? Alright, I don't see them, but I know which ones I want to watch. Closest thing you have to that is Neji releasing chakra out of his chakra points to throw off the trajectory of what's his name's arrows. Hey, hey Kai, bro. I swear to God, Kai, there are certain people who know this shit as well as I do, and I love it. Kai, you're one of them. Ronin's one of them. As far as like, and like, mind you, I feel like all of you guys do, but there are certain instances where it's like, yo, that's the point that I would have said. And I just love when that shit happens. So yes, Kai, and even to piggyback off of that, you're exactly right. Neji is the only person we've seen in Naruto And I got to be careful with how I say this. Let me preface it by saying this. We're told it's hard for even Jonin to expel chakra from all your chakra points at the same time. To enhance your overall durability, or to emit a shield slash cloak that covers your body, this is what you would have to do. You would either have to cover your body in chakra or emit chakra from all of your chakra points. We're told that that's difficult even for Jonin to do. Neji is the only person we've seen do it. We've seen him do it via rotation, where he can just emit chakra from his like face slash shoulder and block attacks like that. But that's a very special case. That's still a ninjutsu. It's not like, yes, it's raw chakra, but it's still a ninjutsu. It's still rotation. He still has to do a certain performative thing to do it, right? And the only other case we've seen him do it, I think, was when, not even I think, it should have been when Kidomaru had trapped him with the webs. When Kidomaru trapped him with the webs, his arms were out, his legs were bound, and all that other stuff. He releases his chakra at once to push the webs off of him. So yeah. First time in a live. Watch a bunch of your lives after watching your Bleach cosmology video. Hey, let's go. Let's go. Well, hey, man, I appreciate you for being here, John. We like to have a lot of fun. I be getting riled up sometimes. I be getting serious, but it's all love at the end of the day. Let me make a quick announcement on the Boruto side of things. Guys, I think we can start reading Boruto tomorrow. Yeah. I think we can start reading Boruto tomorrow. Or do we want to wait till more chapters come out? We could just wait for more chapters to come out. We could do that. I don't mind. But I'm seeing a lot of things, and it's kind of getting me antsy to read Boruto. To Blue Vortex. And I wouldn't say you sound like a hater. That's dope. Orochimaru and Hiruzen were clashing chakra auras in part 1. All right. Clashing chakra auras. Let's see if we can find that. Clashing chakra auras. By the way, I always have this up because people always like to tell me Kabuto enhanced his durability with chakra. But he literally just says, I collected chakra in my abdomen before the attack and began recovering immediately. So it wasn't a durability thing. It was really just a jutsu recovery thing. All right. Clashing chakra auras. Crumbling relief. Let's see here. Clashing chakra auras. I keep saying auras. It's auras. And I know that, so I don't know why I'm saying auras. Auras. Alright, cool. To be able to fight you again. So you have your funeral shroud prepared. This barrier can only be broken from the inside, eh? If Hokage-sama could just take out one of those 4, we could join in. Hey, it's about to start. Put up a barrier on the inside, too. Yeah. Looks like I won't be able to escape easily. As if you intend to. You'd rather not have anyone get in the way, right? Right. So if this is what you mean, Karibo, and I'll go to the actual visual one so we can see it. Volume 13, chapter 117. Oh wait, it's still not black and white. Okay, that's weird. I don't know why it's not like showing up how I thought it would, but it's okay. So yeah, we do see a little crack form on the top of the roof. They ran at each other. Shuriken doppelganger. Let's see. Cause I know in the anime they say something like the pressure is causing this to happen or something like that, but they don't say it here. Are you kidding me? Is this the entire fight? Anyways, Orochimaru is a bum. Maybe we should reread Naruto. Maybe we should reread Naruto. That's hilarious. Alright. So, this is less of a clashing of chakra auras. Where is that? By the way, this is a great feat from my guy. For him to fracture the wall this much from a punch on a person, which means the punch would have to travel through their body and cause that impact. That's actually a really good feat for Guy. He's very strong. Oh, he punched him through the fucking wall. But how thick is the wall? That would be the question we'd have to find out. Anyways, yeah. So yeah, this is more of a both of their energies causing a crack. I mean, like, you can call it a clash if you want to. But then the other thing, Karibo, would be Chakra really doesn't behave like this outside of this in Biju Naruto. Or Four Tails Naruto. Chakra really doesn't behave like this. It's very rare we see Chakra do this. Kakashi uses Chakra Aura to dispel Zabuza's mist. Fireblade. Try some different manga. Welcome to the stream, Fireblade. Don't know if I've seen you here before, but welcome to the stream. Try some different manga. Do you mean different manga to read? Talk about? Scale? What do you mean? Start tomorrow? I think we can start tomorrow. I gotta see. And yes, I do mean 2 Blue Vortex. Wasn't clashing, but flexing. Why is it on different side away from them? Yeah, that's weird too. Espada, like, why is it on the back? Why is it on the back side of them? Like, it's just kind of weird. I'm not gonna lie. This is weird. Like, I would know from the anime that their energy caused this, but if I'm just looking at this, I'm like, all right, why is there a crack there? Did someone hit their head and fall or some shit? Cracked on the opposite side of them. Yeah, bro, it's weird. Alright. So, I had some videos I wanted to watch, but I can't seem to actually... What were they, bro? Oh, here they are. Let me see if I can find it in my notes. Cool. So this was video 1. If I can click on it. So yeah, video 1 was why 99% of fiction can't take Itachi Uchiha in a fight. This is by Seth the Programmer, I'm assuming. But no, it says just Seth. I don't know who Seth is. Maybe it's his alternate account. But that video is guaranteed to be a glaze fest. So we can watch that tonight. Or we could watch... Oh, don't know why that happened. Or we could watch Come on. Load up for me. Come on. What do you mean my browser can't play this video? Hell's going on? Browser can't play this video or won't play this video? Oh, I'm about to say. Cool. Or you could watch What It Means to Fight Naruto Uzumaki by Eon. Or we could watch Gojo versus Caesar Clown. Only 16 minutes. Very nice thumbnail. Lastly, we could watch... What's this one? Oh, yeah. Lastly, we could watch Could the Phantom Troop Stop P2? Yeah. So we got some options. Does Itachi solo 99% of fiction? Could the Phantom Troop stop P2? Caesar Clown versus Gojo? And What It Means to Fight Uzumaki Naruto. What are you guys feeling? The other time we see something like this is when Tobirama and Hashirama were flexing their chakra when Sasuke pissed Tobirama off. Yes, exactly. Very true, Mobley. Yes, but again, like I said, that's very few and far in between where we see chakra have that effect. I don't even remember the original point of it, but yeah, it's very few and far in between. I watched that. The other time we see, I watched that. Seth is his alternate account. Yeah, it was one of the most glazed donuts ever. That's crazy. Yeah, that's crazy. It's still Seth the programmer. Okay, gotcha. So, which one are you guys feeling then? Are we going to go with What It Means to Fight Naruto Uzumaki, Caesar Clown versus Gojo, or should we dig into the glaze fest that is Seth the programmer and Itachi? I don't got Itachi beating 1% of fiction. Fuck 99%. He's not beating 1% of fiction. Itachi. Let's see. 22-minute video. Okay. Yeah, What It Means to Fight Naruto. Get that one out the way quickly. I'd say either the Naruto related ones. See, but I feel like Mobley has a point on this one. I'd rather get it out the way. And here's the thing. I'll probably bounce around in the video. I don't think I'm going to watch the whole thing. But I want to see, like, what the premise is. Like, if he just starts saying dumb shit, we will cut the video off and end it early. But, yeah. I think we can start with this one. Because, it's like, yeah, this isn't something I'd normally watch anyway. I kind of saved this specifically to stream. So, yeah, I think we'd rather get it out the way. But hey, he might end up making a really good argument and completely change my worldview on Itachi. Alright. Hold up. Let me get my drink. Oh! Guys, I hit leg day today, bro. My shit hurt. Ugh. My shit is busting. Ugh. Alright. Oh, God. Oh. Okay. Yeah, leg day is so hard, bro. But I love it. I haven't worked out like legs seriously since I was like running track in high school. So now that I'm getting back into leg day, I am learning to love it again. But all right, let's make sure we can hear. Let's make sure everyone can see everything. Make sure my face isn't covering too much of the actual thing, which I don't think it is.
Hello everyone, it is I, Seth, with the bowl of carbohydrates. And today we're going to be talking about, this will be slightly worded weird, but I feel as though when you're on the internet and you look up, say, a Naruto video, like how strong is this character, how strong is that character, it's usually a type of inverse type of scaling, you know, how strong is Minato in his own verse, here's his narrative in his own verse, you know, everyone's pretty guilty of that, that's whatever, but this video, it'll be focusing more on why Itachi is a bit of a crossverse demon, and he has been a crossverse demon for a long time. Now, Itachi's never been really, say, like, a verse soloing character. You might be able to argue maybe Edo Itachi is a bit more like that, but, you know, normal Itachi is not so much, but Itachi is more like a 1v1, like, heavyweight, and that applies to even characters much more powerful than him. He doesn't really care, and this isn't something new. In fact, this has been going on since, I want to say, 2013? Like, it was before, like, Raditz versus all those characters really became a thing. Yeah, a long time ago. People used to make memes of Itachi beating the Living Tribunal. Obviously, it wouldn't happen, but Itachi even soloing his own verse, like stabbing Madara and stuff. Like, that used to be a thing. Now, obviously, there's varying degrees of believability about those things, but it kind of goes to show that this has been ingrained in a lot of people that Itachi really does have an overpowered moveset. And unlike characters like, let's say, Pain, Kakazu, Deidara, Sasori, or whoever else, really, Itachi doesn't care if his opponent is stronger than him because he can bypass it. He can bypass it multiple.
That line of thinking, here's his first mistake. That line of thinking is only applicable in Naruto. When you get outside of your own verse, you have to scale up to the person you're inflicting your attacks on. If your hacks stops at working on a planetary level fighter, well, there you fucking go. You don't get any higher than a planetary level fighter for your hacks working. If you have somewhat of like an intangible hacks like Kamui, cool, we can grant that, we get it. But to say any and every attack you have will work on anyone that is stronger than you, that's incorrect. That's not how scaling works.
Multiple ways in very subtle ways. So he can basically almost off guard one shot pretty much anyone standing in front of him, which is something that Pain, Kakazu, many of these other characters just really don't have the same tools to use. There are some other characters in Naruto, and the reason Itachi is obviously not like Hagoromo of his verse is because there's very niche counters to his abilities within his own verse, and they're aware of what his abilities do more than they would in, say, a cross verse. That being said, this has been going on since the dawn of Itachi and his abilities being showcased probably against his battle against Orochimaru, really, and whenever these data books came out explaining what his abilities are. But I think the first thing to deduce is that Itachi is a decently fast character. You know, you could argue he's anywhere between like 3 to 72 times speed of light, depending on how you calc, like maybe him blitzing around the Raikage, all the light speed statements in the data books. Maybe it can go higher, maybe it can.
First off, where the hell do you get 3 to 72? That's such a large gap in numbers. Where do you land between 3 and 72 with anything? That doesn't even make sense. That doesn't even make sense. But we all knew this was coming. So I'm not even gonna go as hard as I can because we knew this was coming. But we know it's wrong, so.
Go a little bit lower, but he's pretty conventionally fast. Like, let's say compared to like Jujutsu Kaisen, My Hero Academia, where these characters are really like only the top of the top, maybe hit light speed, and then you kind of have to like jerk around that. Itachi is just dozens of times over that. He has a pretty decent speed scaling that lets him get into or above most shonen verses. Obviously, maybe more heavy hitters like, you know, One Piece or Bleach or Dragon Ball or whatever. He can't really reach.
Wait, what? Hold up.
Have to like jerk around that. Itachi is just dozens of times over that. He has a pretty decent speed scaling that lets him get into or above most shonen verses. Obviously, maybe more heavy hitters like, you know, One Piece or Bleach or Dragon Ball or whatever. He can't really reach some of those sometimes.
Oh.
in certain arguments, although you can downplay them as well. But for the most part, most verses just aren't that fast, and then he has a bunch of Duranegs or, mind haxes and things that they just cannot compute. So even his AP is just irrelevant. If he's too fast, he just wins by default in most of these shonen verses. Most fictional verses, like Game of Thrones ain't taking down Itachi, Uchiha in a fight. No one's doing that, right? Even the Avengers, a lot of those characters, really everyone just kind of falls victim 1v1. And I brought Noodles here today because he's been sort of on his war.
First off, Noodles, don't let Seth the programmer fool you. Noodles is Seth the programmer, and Seth the programmer is actually Noodles. They are the same person. It's confirmed.
Grind here with the Itachi versus Bleach stuff. Now, we're not going to get totally into, say, Itachi versus Bleach, but I think it's sort of informative and a bit educational because this is a primordial argument. Like, this is an ancient jutsu, being showcased that has been very old, and obviously it's been honed a bit through the data books and more understanding of, higher dimensional mind hacks and that stuff and more, novel translations. But yeah, just go into detail about how you would start that kind of off, like why you think most characters just fall victim 1v1 like to Itachi.
The issue is like there's a lot of characters in fiction who have broken abilities, but not many of them can just look at someone and instantly defeat them. And that is Itachi's primary ability. I can just look at you in the eye and I could cast an infinite potency illusion into your mind. Like when people think about broken jutsu or broken abilities in general from like Jujutsu Kaisen or anything like Gojo or Sukuna, right? Like,
hey yo, how funny is it that Genjutsu working cross-verse was my first talking point for this shit? How funny is that retrospectively that I just kind of broke all this shit down and deduced why this wouldn't work cross-verse?
Gojo's infinite void that he can summon, right? People think that has crazy mind hacks because it puts infinite information inside your mind.
Infinite void can only work on people with cursed energy. Gojo falls victim to the same shit that Itachi does. Sorry, not gonna work.
I know I keep mentioning this infinite information thing. It's because Itachi's Tsukuyomi is stated in both the novel and data book to have infinite information being put into it. It's stated in the second data book that it creates an infinite-sized nightmare realm that's like injected into your brain.
His own universe, even.
Yeah, he just creates the whole universe, and he's manifesting everything in it. He can control everything from space, gravity, and time itself. He can alter all of those things. That's why, like, when Kakashi's put in there for 48 hours, in the real world, only a moment passes, but inside there, it's been feeling like hell and eternity that he's being tortured, So it's kind of hard to like just get around an ability like that. Now, if someone had, say, the mind hacks resistance to do it, sure. But when you really think about it, how many verses have like as high of a mind hack scaling chain as Naruto? Not many,
Right.
It's hard to get to get around the mind hacks chain. Bleach has really good ceiling hacks chains. Like there's multiple levels of like power suppression and like sealing and things like that.
With Ichibe and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. And he's got like conceptual abilities and the ability to name everything in creation and stuff like that. Like he's got his own hacks in his own right. Honestly, I would even say that that ability in particular is more impressive than Hagoromo's creation of all things jutsu, because even though Hagoromo can manifest things, he doesn't manipulate them on a conceptual level, whereas Ichibe does. So there are certain hacks in Bleach that are just super disgusting and strong. Now, the problem is, the best mind hacks used in the whole verse is Aizen. And Aizen's mind hacks never has like an infinite statement or anything like that. It does affect Yhwach, which I'll probably get into in a minute, but a lot of the issues surrounding Aizen's mind hacks is that it's just described as affecting the five senses, which, as we all know in part 1, Jiraiya describes all Genjutsu being able to do that. So I'm not saying that this is necessarily just Aizen's equal to some base skinning like Sakura could just resist his illusionary techniques or whatever. But yeah, like I generally equalize these things as well, because even though reiatsu isn't the same as Chakra, you would agree, Seth, that combining those for the sake of discussion is very fair and should be done in a power scaling debate regardless, though.
Yeah, Aizen's a complex character. I mean, maybe it works on like a spiritual sense too. Who knows? But, Tsukuyomi in general, not only is it an instant mind hacks, you have to have a very specific named resistance or else you lose.
All right. That was a lot to unpack. Boy, oh boy. I'm going to go back. Let me catch up real quick. I'm going to go back. Yes, that only works on Naruto, LOL. Itachi might be great in equalized all stats. Oh yeah, in equalized all stats and the person can't like transform, Itachi is cooking. He's cooking. That works for most of DC and Marvel. Hacks scale separately from other stats. Yeah, That's fine. But when we're talking about power scaling, not just DC and Marvel scaling, because DC and Marvel scaling has their own scaling things. Jean Grey can get killed by stabby stab Wolverine, despite her being like closer to fucking Continental or stronger than Magneto at the very least. Right? So they have their own way of how to scale. When we're doing cross verses, though, and see, but this is something that we would have to agree to before we actually have a conversation about scaling, which is actually why it would be really hard to pin down an actual debate. But yeah, Iron Man resists Tsukuyomi, to be honest. But everyone want to make bets on how long Ab-stract will watch. Just betting 5 minutes into it. We at 6:46. You lose. You lose, Shinigami. So you understand why I said get it out the way quickly? Yeah, I see why you said get it out the way quickly. Itachi isn't outspeeding a significant amount of Fairy Tail. The 72 is the usual calc for Naruto blitzing the Raikage, but Naruto wasn't full speed against Itachi. So the 72 times comes from the presumption that the Raikage is close to light speed or near light speed. And that only comes from the data book, which is hyperbolic. I get where it comes from, Kirby. I get where it comes from, first off. But, I mean, I still don't get how you get from 3 to 72. Either have the gap be really small or really fucking big. Don't have 3 to 72. Maybe 75 to 72. Or 72 to 75. Or even 30 to... I even accept 40, right? 3 to 72 is just stupid. Seth simply never read Bleach. He probably didn't. This would amazing VA skills if you believe they are the same person. Yeah, no, like shit. Noodles and Seth are like literally the same guy. Jean is like multiversal to hyperversal. She's the Phoenix. There you go. I didn't want to say all that because I haven't gotten to the comics as far as that stuff. But yeah, if you believe Jean is hyperversal or whatever, she still died to Wolverine. So just saying that, DC and Marvel scale like that too, that doesn't really help the conversation because they all scale differently. We're talking about power scaling. When we're talking about power scaling, to avoid no limit fallacies, things have to be set in place, or else any character that has an attack that has not been stated to be stopped or has never shown to be stopped can just work on anybody else. We're not doing that. That's not how it works, right? I even questioned stuff on the maybe Kyoka Suigetsu works on spiritual sense by saying they're spiritual beings doing spiritual things. What do you mean maybe? Yeah, that was weird too. What do you mean maybe? I don't. Yeah, taking the L. In power scaling, each stat is separate. Yo, what's good, Fireblade? In power scaling, each stat is separate. The Wolverine only was able to damage her because he was written to do so by a higher dimensional being, so it's actually explained. That's hilarious. Alright, let me go back. Let me go back a little bit. Damn, I went back to an ad.
Best things. He doesn't manipulate them on a conceptual level, whereas Ichigo does. So there are certain hacks in Bleach that are just super disgusting and strong. Now, the problem is, the best mind hacks used in the whole verse is Aizen. And Aizen's mind hacks never has, like, an infinite.
So here's the thing. Firstly, here's the thing. And this might just be me being pedantic. This might be me just being really pedantic. Kyoka Suigetsu is not a mind hacks. It has nothing to do with your mind. It has nothing to do with your internal, intangible mind. It has everything to do with your sensory faculties. I'll say that again. Kyoka Suigetsu is not a mind hacks. It is a technique that takes control of your sensory faculties to the nth degree, to the highest degree that it can. So that's number one. I don't like that mischaracterization of Kyoka Suigetsu because it then puts it on like a level of, well, they're both mind hacks, but the Sharingan does this, while Kyoka Suigetsu does this. They're not the same thing. They don't work the same. And when you compare how Kyoka Suigetsu does what it does versus what the Sharingan wants to do, Kyoka Suigetsu is winning in that aspect 10 times out of 10. Just like how you're trying to frame Kyoka Suigetsu as a mental attack or a mind hacks and it losing to Sharingan Genjutsu. They're not the same thing. They don't work the same thing. Aizen takes control of all your sensory faculties. Mental attacks in the form of Genjutsu invade your fucking mind. God.
Statement or anything like that. It does affect Yhwach, which I'll probably get into in a minute, but a lot of the issues surrounding Aizen's mind hacks is that it's just described as affecting the 5 senses, which, as we all know in part.
So, like, here's the thing. You acknowledge it affects the 5 senses, but still call it a mind hacks. There has to be a disconnect. You're either, and this is probably the reason why most Naruto scalers still think Kyoka Suigetsu is inferior, because they're still lumping it in with Genjutsu. It's not a Genjutsu. It doesn't work anywhere near the same as a Genjutsu does. Genjutsu works by framing your 5 senses. What does that mean? In a Genjutsu, and we can even pick from the ones that have happened, when they went to the 3rd floor, or when they went to the 2nd floor of the Chunin exam, and they saw that it said 203 instead of 303 and knew it was a Genjutsu, right? Kyoka Suigetsu, no matter how much they tried to believe it said something else, it would still say 203. He has control over your sensory faculties. That's the power. When Naruto was fighting those Rain Ninja in the forest, and they had to throw fake kunai with their real kunai. They had to throw real kunai with their fake kunai because their illusions weren't tangible. They didn't have any like real mass. They were kind of like black substance, but they didn't have any real mass. Kyoka Suigetsu could have made all of them real. It would have made the weapons real, them real, the blood real. Everything about that scene would have felt like it was real in the material world. That is what Kyoka Suigetsu is doing. No Genjutsu was working to that level on that degree in any field. We've never seen it. Show me it. Show me it. When Aizen was able to take his fake dead corpse and have it examined, people were physically interacting with it. They could see it. They could touch it. They could probably smell the blood. Sight, sound, touch, feel. I'm missing one. Hear. Yeah. There's not an example for here, but obviously all of their sensory faculties were affected at the same time. That only unironically takes place in a Genjutsu. Isn't that funny? Isn't that funny? Think about that. The only time that your sight, hearing, taste, sound, and touch are actually affected are in a mental attack. They've never been affected, all 5, with a real-time illusion. So this is the big difference between Kyoka Suigetsu and Sharingan Genjutsu. One attacks your sensory faculties to the nth degree. The other attacks your mind to the nth degree. They're not the same thing. They're in completely 2 different fucking worlds. It's annoying that people still don't understand this. It's annoying we have 2 big YouTubers like this that still don't get this. And then they want to say, oh, well, this is better because it does this. And Kyoka Suigetsu only affects your 5 senses. We have Jiraiya talking about the 5 senses. Show me a Genjutsu that's ever affected the 5 senses the way Kyoka Suigetsu does. Show me one. Oh, wait. It doesn't exist. Doesn't exist. Have you read Miruku-chan? No, I've not read Miruku-chan. Iron Man resisted Xavier level mind hacks, and Charles battled Phoenix Force across infinite planes of existence in mind battle. Carry on, let's laugh. sensory hacks are a category of mind hacks. Sensory hacks are category of mind hacks? Why? Also, Bleach characters have more than 12 senses, lol, which Kyoka Suigetsu controls. Ginjo explained the 5 spiritual senses when he blinded Ichigo to use his spiritual eyes. That's true. Reikaku and reiatsu chikaku give them a whole nother set of senses to begin with. So you have your regular 5 senses plus your 6th sense. Then you have your reiruku-based senses, or your spiritual senses. You have your spiritual eyes, your spiritual touch, your spiritual taste, your spiritual talk, because Aizen and Yhwach were talking via spiritual pressure. They were talking via spiritual pressure. Shunsui wanted to talk with Aizen via spiritual pressure. So that's absolutely correct. But Unohana could tell that the Aizen body double wasn't real, at least a little bit. No, that's not true. She had her doubts that it was. She had her doubts something was amiss. She never said it wasn't real or anything like that. She had her doubts something was amiss. That's not the same thing. Not his body, the way he died was strange. Thank you. Yeah, not his body, the way he died was strange. Something was amiss. I think it needs to be noted this convo because Naruto fans seem to forget different forms of mind hacks. I mean, even Naruto verse shows that sound genjutsu bypasses visual genjutsu resistances. That's true. that's really true. Yeah. That's really true, actually. Sound genjutsu completely bypasses. Like, if we're talking about Sharingan and Sharingan, that can resist each other, but there's no resisting the sound genjutsu. You actually have to just cover your ears. Closest thing is Izanagi, and even that doesn't really do it. Thank you, Mobley. Yes. And even when I do the Genjutsu versus Kyoka Suigetsu video, what do I say? I say the best Genjutsu in Naruto, in my opinion, is Izanagi, because it has the most applicability crossverse. You don't need a chakra network to use it. It's not as weak as a real-time illusion, and its versatility is just higher. So yes, that is correct, Mobley. Izanagi is the closest thing to Kyoka Suigetsu. But guess what? Even it doesn't control all 5 of your senses. Doesn't control them. No. Or how about they have no feats versus Shinji's type of mind hacks? I'm going to sleep. Good night, y'all. Hey, good night, creep. Shinobi. Shinigami. So yeah, my thing is like, first off, who elected to call all type of sensory effects mind hacks? Where did we get this conflation from? Where did we get this? Is the conflation between is the conflation coming from our cranial nerves being connected to our brain? Is it coming from that? Is it the brain? If it's that, then I can kind of understand it. But if we're just saying that, if we're just saying all sensory things have to do with the mind, I don't like that. Like, no, that's weird to me. Unohana did say she cut many bodies, so she knows what's what, but Aizen's was different. So if his was different, then if it's talking about like opening up bodies, then it would be the wound he suffered or how he died, though. But let's keep going, because that's this whole thing.
One, Jiraiya describes all Genjutsu being able to do that. So I'm not saying that this is necessarily just Aizen's equal to some base skinning like Sakura could just resist his illusionary techniques or whatever. But yeah, like, I generally equalize these things as well, because even though reiatsu isn't the same as Chakra, you would agree, Seth, that combining those for the sake of discussion is very fair and should be done in a power scaling debate regardless, though.
Yeah, you know, Aizen's a complex character. I mean, maybe it works on like a spiritual sense too. Who knows? But, you know, Tsukuyomi in general, not only is it an instant mind hacks, you have to have a very specific named resistance or else you lose. Like, you can't cope. Like, well, my character is higher AP. It doesn't...
Fulbert Elric. I don't think I've seen you over here before, Fulbert. Nice to see you, though. You say you can't sense things without the mind, though. The mind and the senses are occupied. All right. So Let me ask you something. Let me ask you something. Is to sense to perceive? If you can perceive something, would you define that as sensing it? The reason I'm asking you that question, Fulbert, is because, number one, robots don't have minds. Or they shouldn't have minds, unless you think they do have minds. But robots don't have minds. Robots can perceive. They can sense. They can gather information. They can collect. They can distinguish between. They can sift through. I don't know what perceived means. I got you. This is loading slower than I thought. Real slower than I thought. Alright, now I might be lagging. Pseudo-sensory manipulation can be achieved through mind hacks by making the brain misinterpret information input. But that doesn't mean it's the same thing as messing with sensory input by itself. Thank you, Grid. Yes, that's exactly correct. That's exactly correct. I don't know if you can hear or see me, but I can see myself, so I'm going to assume it's working still. Anyways, yeah, Fulbert, essentially what I'm saying is that we have access to the brain, right? But the mind is really only an idea. Almost like how dreams... Well, no, I don't even want to get into that. The mind is more so an idea. It's this thing that we posit exists for the purpose of, like, having a conscience, right? Telling us what's good, what's bad, imagining, thinking, right? We understand this happens through a process in our brain, but is imperceptible because it is what we call the mind. Our sensory faculties are also linked through our brain, but that wouldn't necessitate that they're linked with our mind. That wouldn't necessitate that. You said you can't sense things without the mind, though. Now, if we're going to take that route, I would posit you can't do anything without the mind, first off. So then, is therefore every technique a technique that affects your mind if you can't do anything without the mind? It becomes very convoluted if we do that. And here's the thing. If we want to take that route, I'm not mad at it, but I need a good reason to believe it. Because what they did was they just lumped in messing with sensory faculties versus messing with your mind. If that's the case, give me a good argument as to why we're lumping them into the same category. Like these are both mind hacks. Tell me why. Tell me why that's true. Give me a good reason why that would be true. I don't know why, but this shit is lagging like a mother. Let's get back to the video, though. Maybe it didn't want me to go to Maybe they want me to read that.
Matter. Does he have mind hacks resistance? And that's where people's brains literally get Tsukuyomi. Like, they cannot comprehend that a character needs a new resistance to this attack. Like, they can't just have bigger muscles and resist the attack. It just doesn't work that way. You know, you might be able to make like a slight cope. Like, let's say like maybe Yamamoto's like in his Bankai or something, and then like you argue he has like this spiritual existence erasing barrier around him or something. So like maybe Tsukuyomi's chakra can't like reach him in his Bankai or something. Like maybe, but you know, it's like you guys get the idea. It's more so if Yamamoto squares up to Itachi and he looks at him, he's gonna get up. He's not gonna know it's gonna happen, and he doesn't have that resistance chain. He doesn't have those statements. That's the problem. And it is sort of like, it's like cheesing. It's like cheesing a boss in a game. That's what Itachi does. He cheeses his opponents every single time. And this also even applied with Goku back in the day. Like Saiyan Saga Goku, you think Saiyan Saga Goku's got universal mind hacks? Probably not.
Well, it wouldn't be that Universal Goku has universal mind hacks, right? Or it wouldn't be that Saiyan Saga Goku has universal mind hacks. The question would be, has building level Itachi ever used his technique on someone as powerful as Goku? That's what we would be looking for. That's what we would be looking for. Because in a story, you can't account for any and every goddamn attack. It's impossible. So unless we want Itachi's abilities to go on the limits of no limit fallacies, right? Then there has to be a measurable thing that we can take into account. Like, to assert his jutsu works on Frieza, who can blow up planets very easily, is asinine, because we've never seen it work on anyone as strong as Frieza. Right? This isn't to say it couldn't work, but if you're positing that it could, you would need to prove that it could work on someone this powerful. Mind hacks be damned. Show me it working on someone as strong as him.
Unless you think, you know, Saiyan Saga Goku has some outer verse. You know, maybe he has some outer versal comprehension because of the afterlife being dimensionally transcendent, which is an exaggeration, obviously, but even Saiyan Saga Goku, Namek Saga Goku, Cell Saga Goku, why do these characters resist a universe in their brain? Why would they? You know, why would Sukuna, Toji, you know, all these characters? Luffy, why does he have that resistance? And maybe, you know, some experts of these series, and, you know, they might point out certain things. Maybe Luffy has a particular mind hacks chain that you could bring up. I doubt it. But, you know, if you could, you know, and that's the point. You need that new level of argument. You need that new deduction, or else your character loses. And it's not just like a mind hacks where your character's like, oh, damn, that hurt, damn. No, Itachi can kill you with this thing. So, like, he can literally make your entire life flash by faster than light, and then your brain will think it lived its life and then die. So, like,
let me read to you what the novel said about the Tsukuyomi. My Tsukuyomi is spiritual destruction via Genjutsu. It also says in the second data book that it's spiritual destroying as well. Statements that say it also just destroys your soul itself.
Yeah.
It's stated by Kiro in the Katsuki novel when he fights Kiro and Kodaka, these like two like poison bee brothers, kind of weird, but when he fights them, he casts the Tsukuyomi on Kiro, and Kiro said that he felt his memories and his personality washing away. So he was erasing like all of his memories, he was erasing his personality. He was basically going to turn him into like a brain dead, soulless vegetable, right? And that's what the Tsukuyomi is going to do to you. It completely like fries you. And it's not even just a universe that's getting put into your brain. It's like an infinite amount of information that is all dedicated to torturing you.
And then he manipulates it to however he needs to torment you.
Yes.
Like it's very personalized. And he can control this however you wishes, like he spares Kakashi or whatever. Not only is the Tsukuyomi just a very subtle attack, it's a very believable attack. Like, it's very in character for him just to hit someone with that attack, especially if they're really strong looking or whatever. Very goofy. He uses Genjutsu right off the bat with many people.
Yes.
And now we get to the second part of it, and that's where you also can get Dura-negged by Itachi. And so he has sealing techniques, so even an immortal being can get sealed and defeated by Itachi. So he can defeat immortals, and he can defeat people stronger than him. And the Totsuka Blade can there also negate physical durability. You need something greater than physical durability. You need more like astral, spiritual, more...
So Totsuka Blade just works on Galactus. It just works on Cthulhu. It works on One Above All. It works on Mr. McPiddlix. It works on Everybody. Because Doraneg and Sealing, and because it works on stronger people. That reminds me, I saw a video the other day that comically summarized Naruto filler. Itachi put Mecha Naruto under a Genjutsu. I don't agree with that guy. Shinigami as powerful Yama or Aizen can resist Genjutsu. Well, I mean, it's not even about resisting. Like, you guys have just heard them concede that you need verse equalization to even have this be a conversation. That's literally how they started this. You would agree that verse equalization plays a big part in crossverse series, right? I mean, why not? It's the only way. It's the only goddamn way you're going to get a point. But hey, do what you got to do. They got this Zanpakuto which would fuck Itachi yellow. LO. That part too. And then the big limitation for Itachi is the most he can do is 48 hours or 72 hours. When we have people like Ichigo and Kisuke fighting for 5 days straight. Training for 5 days straight. Ichigo literally being in his inner world and being in Bankai for 3 months. You're talking about 48 hours where Ichigo is in his Bankai for 3 months fighting White. But 48 hours is going to break him, right? In fact, Itachi couldn't even make a Bleach character live out their entire life because their lifespans are far longer than anything he could, conjure up. Imagine Itachi saying hello to White. White would whoop Itachi's ass. He knows it's exaggeration, but uses that for Itachi. Oh my god, this guy is everything you use of Naruto is databook hyperbole. Yeah, White would cannibalize Itachi's soul. Itachi know this Superboy Prime. Can Goku drink rattlesnake venom? Resistances are abilities. A character is not going to have every ability, and that is okay. If a character in a series has not shown a certain resistance, that's different than them being felled by a certain attack. You asking me, can Goku drink rattlesnake venom? It's almost weird. First off, we don't see a lot of poisons in DBZ in the first place. But let's hypotheticalize it, right? Let's say Goku does drink rattlesnake venom, and he is failed by the venom. He succumbs to the venom. You know what we can conclude from that? We can conclude Goku, who is universal, can be failed by fucking snake poison. And anything higher than snake poison, like sorcery's poison, we can safely conclude that Goku would be failed by. That's how that would work. In a crossverse, it would work like this. Sorcery's poison was able to affect Shibai Otsu fucking Suki, who's quote unquote, let's make him universal. Sorcery's poison was able to affect Shibai Otsutsuki. That's a universal character. His poison affected him, right? Cool. Let's put Sorcery in DBZ. Sorcery, the last person he affected was a universal character. So that would give him affecting everyone under that character, including up to that character. That's how it would work. That's how it would scale. You can't take a character that hasn't shown a resistance and say, oh, well, he's never shown resistance to this. He can't. No. What you do is you take a character that has said ability, and what's the strongest person it's worked on in their verse? Was this person a mountain buster? Was this person this? Was this person that? Etc., 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 so on and so forth. Because cross-verse will be using... And see, this is why it's really important that your energy scale with your fucking power, so we don't have to do these things. But Naruto doesn't use that system where their energy scales to their power. So now we have to figure out everything on a basis of, well, who did it affect and who did it affect and who did it affect. It's really annoying. It's actually really annoying. Hopefully all that made sense, though. Whoever told people the Totsuka Blade has Dora Neg is top 1% manipulator ever, because I've never seen a single statement for this arbitrary claiming it's a spiritual weapon. Yeah. Well, no, not even well. I agree with you. I think it was the fact that the Totsuka blade was stated to be a spirit weapon, and like that's a novelty. Like that's a novelty in Naruto. Imagine that, right? A spirit weapon. That's a novelty in Naruto. And the presumption of like people can't block or defend against Don Kato's spirit transformation jutsu. You know what I mean? Goku can literally power up and break mind hacks, lol. They really cooked themselves when they said Tsukuyomi is spiritual. You know what else is spiritual? Everything in Bleach. Ergo, Bleach characters without Chakra could neg this. Come on, bro. Bleach characters don't even need mind hacks resistance to deal with Itachi. They don't. Gohan was poisoned by that alien wolf just fine, so yes, Goku would be affected by rattlesnake poison. Well, hold up. See, but we gotta stop there, right? Gohan was poisoned. So did this happen in the Tournament of Power, where he was poisoned by the wolf guy? Because that's a whole different level of person we're dealing with. This isn't just regular poison now. This is poison coming from a fighter in the Tournament of Power. So his poison would scale to however strong Goku is. Right? His poison would scale to however strong Gohan. You said Gohan? Yeah. His poison would scale to however strong Gohan is. You know what we wouldn't do with that wolf man? We wouldn't say, oh, his poison worked on Gohan. I bet it works on Whis. We wouldn't say that. It wouldn't make any sense. Whis is several times stronger than fucking Gohan. Why would we presume his poison works on him? But you know what we will say? His poison works on everyone weaker than him. It's not that hard. Damn, it's not that hard. Sasuke implied versus the Cloud Ninja. He hypothesized when you crack due to fear, Genjutsu is more effective. Meaning, the more courage you have, the more resistance you have. I can see that. I can definitely see that. When I'm thinking about the instances and use cases of Genjutsu, the whole thing of Genjutsu is to create a false reality, which would scare you initially, right? But if you're strong-willed, like how Kakashi was quote-unquote strong-willed in Tsukuyomi and didn't immediately collapse, that helped him survive it. Him being that strong-willed helped him survive it. So I can see that. I can definitely see that. Yep, and transforming only accelerated the poison through the body. The prelims that led to Tournament of Power. Anyone remembers Frost's poison needle taking down Piccolo and Vegeta? Right. So, good. Dragon Ball Z does have examples of poison. You know what this tells us? These characters that have these poison feats can affect everyone below them. We won't presume that these characters can affect people like Whis, Beerus, etc., etc. Why? Because these are different realms and tiers of power. Same thing where we won't presume fucking Genjutsu works on Aizen. Because Itachi himself isn't past building level in AP, durability, DC, probably. Yeah, no, probably not even DC. He's not past building level in all those regards. This is not trolling. I'm being 100% serious right now. And I can confidently say this because in Naruto, you don't have to scale to the person's energy to hurt them. Meaning you don't have to scale to their ninjutsu to hurt them. You just have to bypass their basic durability. Everyone's basic durability isn't above fucking building level. Building level AP, not total joules. I believe it's more plausible to say that poison works on mortals and what is anything but immortal. And what? In Whis. Oh, okay. Oh, what is? I believe it's plausible to say that poison works on mortals and Whis is anything but immortal. So the question wouldn't be poison working, right? I think we can all agree it works. It's potency though, right? When we're arguing cross-verse poison, even inverse poison, we're arguing potency here. That's the thing we're arguing. A great example would also be Askin Naklevar. Askin's poison, or Askin's technique, was able to work on Oetsu, it was able to work on Yoruichi, it was able to work on Grimmjow, it was able to work on Chad, it was able to work on Urahime. The first person his ability didn't work on was who? Class? Mobley. Yes, Mobley, you. Well, Ab-stract, the first person his ability wasn't able to work on was actually Ichigo. Correct. Give it up for Mobley. He's actually right. The first person Askin's ability, the Deathdealing, didn't work on was Ichigo. What did Askin do after that? Askin altered his poison, right? So now we have Ichigo, who has his true Shikai, came back from rear guard training and all that, and his poison worked on Ichigo. So that tells us that Askin's poison will work on anyone at Ichigo's level and lower. Askin doesn't go higher now, right? We know he can change the flavor to affect Ichigo. This doesn't mean, though, this does not presume that his poison will now work on Yhwach, that his poison will now work on the Soul King. That's not what that means. Askin would need feats for this. He would need feats for this. And I kind of have to be careful with that because it was reishi poisoning, which is a little different, right? Askin in his gift ball, changing the parameters of what is allowed, that's going to work on anybody. His gift Beric, his gift ball deluxe, that's going to work on anybody because within that space, he's changing how things work. He's changing the oxygen levels. He's changing the hydrogen levels. He's changing lethality. That all that stuff is going to work. That's fine. But as far as the internal manipulation that he's doing, he needs feats to scale above working on Shikai Ichigo. But honestly, you can stop at Shikai Ichigo because not many characters you put him against are going to be as strong as Shikai fucking Ichigo. So it really doesn't matter that much in the first place. I believe it's more, I said this. I think it's worth considering that poisons and venoms work in different ways. Unfortunately, we don't usually get definitions inverse of how, but resistance may vary depending on function and delivery. I'll read that again for clarification. I think it's worth considering that poisons and venoms work in different ways. Let's stop right there. I believe that's true. I think that's 100% true. For example, you have poisons like sorceries who invade the body and break down the cells that way versus more aggressive poisons like Magellan's and the Arankar girl who can melt stone and concrete and all that other stuff, right? Both work in different ways. Yeah. Unfortunately, we don't usually get definitions inverse of how, but resistance may vary depending on function and delivery. So to that though, right? We know the poison's main goal is to shut down the body. If we take sorcery's poison, for example, sorcery's poison invades the body and it can kill you in about 3 days' time. Now, to me, this would be less potent than Mayuri's poison, which will get into your body and kill you within... When did he say Uryu was going to die? Uryu was probably going to die that same night if he didn't get the antidote. I'm going off my memory here, but Uryu was going to die that same night if he didn't get the antidote, right? Plus, we have Mayuri's poison working on people that outscale anyone that sorcery's poison has worked on. So, if we were to say sorcery were to poison Uryu, I'm not going to say sorcery's poison wouldn't work. I'm going to say I don't think it would work to the same degree that it affected Kankuro, because Kankuro is many times weaker than Uryu. And then when Uryu got poisoned, Uryu wasn't even out for the count. He wasn't even down. He wasn't even inhabilitated. He went Lestiel and then he put a hole through Mayuri. So that even gives him some type of resistance to poison. Or at least that poison, right? And then with Magellan and with the girl that can poison and tried to poison Yami, their poison literally melts things on contact. Now, am I going to say her poison is stronger than Mayuri's? I wouldn't say that just because the scaling aspect of that poison still exists, right? Mayuri is a fucking captain. She is a fracciones, a handmaiden to Aizen. Just because her poison can melt things, we have to remember this is still a battle of reiatsu. Her poison is her reiatsu, so it's strong enough to melt things, but that doesn't mean it's strong enough to affect people like Yami. Where on the other hand, Mayuri's poison can affect people like Zayalaparo, Yami, Espadas. It can affect all these people because, once again, this is still a battle of reiatsu, which is why having a universal energy system is just better anyway. It just simplifies all this shit. Sorcery's poison is man-made. It's natural, kind of, to an extent, right? You can argue Mayuri's is also man-made because he modifies his Bankai, but for the most part, it comes from his Ashisoku Jizo, which is spirit energy. How are we liking the first screen back? How are we liking the first screen back? Like the video. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, share the video. How are we liking the first screen back? I'm cooking. And Ichigo. Yes, sir. It eventually worked on Ichigo. That's a fact. It eventually worked on Ichigo. Right. So we can still say, though, for certainty, his poisons can work on people of this caliber. Right. Orochimaru has a resistance to poison, but we don't know how effective Sorcerer's poison would be on him. Exactly. Sometimes they say poison when throwing straight acid. Are you saying in Naruto they say poison when throwing straight acid? I would need to see that. Like minutes. Yeah, like, okay, if you're talking about for Mayuri's poison, yes, I believe it was very fast. Like, he wasn't going to last the night if he didn't get the antidote. And that was before he started altering it and making it stronger. Exactly. Big W. Okay, so we liking the stream. That's what's up. That's what's up, Dro. That's what's up. Good shit. But, all right, yo, I got to actually eat, and I got work tomorrow. This was fun. I'm going to think. I'll think about reading Boruto tomorrow. I want to, but then again, I kind of want to wait for it to build up. I kind of like this I kind of like this chill vibe of just kind of talking to you guys, watching videos. You know what? We'll give Boruto a little breathing room, because I still haven't actually made my tier list for the actual series, because I'm still kind of focused on Kakashi versus Toshiro. But yeah, we'll give Boruto a little bit of breathing room. Come back to it once it's maybe about 50 chapters in. And see what we're talking about, see what we're working with. I'm talking about when you mentioned poison melting stone. Okay. Yeah. So the thing is, we know that's not acid because they specifically call it poison. Like Magellan's whole thing is poison, and the Iran car girl said something, my poison. So we know the poison's potency per like cubic centimeter, as funny as that is to say, is strong enough to melt concrete, stone, or whatever the substance is that it's melting. If in Naruto they call poison acid, that would be kind of weird, but I would kind of need to see a feat, right? Like, I wouldn't call Lady Katsuyu's acid poison. I would call that actually acid, or actual acid, because they call it acid. But all right, you know what? We'll do like another 5 minutes. Let's just see where this goes.
Less physical durability statements to actually resist it. Like, Goku doesn't really get statements like that until really more so like the Buu saga, maybe when they're dealing with spirits, or even like kind of in Dragon Ball Super when they're dealing with like existence erasing attacks or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like that guy.
Yeah, many characters don't have non-physical durability. Like, if you attack their soul, they're gonna get chopped up. Now, Bleach does, because everyone in Bleach is a fucking spirit, like a Zanpakuto, chop your spirit or whatever. But most verses outside the big three, I think the big three in general has some decent spirit stuff. I think of JJK, right? In JJK, you know, Toji has the split soul katana, or, you know, Maki, and this is considered a Duraneg weapon, and it's like, well, that's just Itachi's Totsuka blade slashes. On average, every single thing is gonna Duraneg everything in this verse if it gets a hit on them. And so this also catches off guard a lot of characters that are just stronger than Itachi. He actually did this to defeat Nagato in his own verse. I mean, believe it or not, he just Duranegged him and then sealed them away. Crazy that people think he's stronger than him, by the way. And then after he Duranegs them, or he Tsukuyomis them or loops them, he can then seal them into a gourd. They're eternally drunken, incapable of like thought and consciousness or whatever, and they're sealed away forever. And then that's that. So that's the second part of his attack arsenal. I don't know if you have any more comments on his astral weapons, but I think that's sort of, you know, the overview I would explain.
Yeah, like you mentioned the Totsuka blade. It's stated in the third data book that the Totsuka blade is a perfect offensive weapon. Like it's the best off.
Susanoo boasts an absolutely perfect attack and defense because of the spirit weapon it wields in both hands. The 10-handed sword that can cut down any enemy in its right, and the Yata Mirror, a shield that can repel any attack in the face of a god's powers. All attacks, whether from a material or astral body, ninjutsu or physical, lose their meaning. See, like, oh my god. The data books, man. The data books have been the cause of so much bad things with the scaling community. Look no further than this statement here. Look no further than this statement here. In the face of God's powers, all attacks, whether from a material or astral body, ninjutsu or physical, lose their meaning. All attacks. So, inherently written into the ability is a no limits fallacy. That's terrible. And I'm not mad that it's written like this. I'm more so mad that we would take this to be used in actual scaling. That's what's annoying about this. The 10-handed sword that can cut down any enemy. Guess it's cutting down Cthulhu. Guess it's cutting down Dream of the Endless. Guess it's cutting down death, eternity, and madness. Guess it's cutting down Anos del Hevia. Guess it's cutting down Rimuru. Like this is why statement scaling is among the weakest of stuff you can bring to a debate. To any scaling conversation, actually. Like, this is all statement. This is all statement scaling. No feats back this up. Not a single feat backs up any one of these claims. Perfect weapon. Perfect attack and defense. Yet, it can't defend its backside. Oh, gosh.
In the entire data book. It's the strongest. It can cut down any enemy. It says all of these things about the Totsuki blade. What it does to you is it pierces your soul itself and then seals it inside of the blade for all of eternity in a drunken world of illusion.
Right.
So not only is it like sealing you, it's also mind taxing you on top of it. So, and for all of time, for like an infinite amount of time. So even someone like Aizen, who just could live forever, would be sealed in it for him. Now, Aizen might have some sealing resistance, to be fair, but irregardless, like the point is that he just has like multiple Duraneg attacks, the Tsukuyomi's Duraneg, and that automatically just bypasses any strength difference. The real arguments always come down to speed, in my opinion. So, and to be honest, that is probably the weakest area for Itachi, but even his speed is genuinely good and downplayed because he does have like multiple faster than light feats.
Right, compared to most verses, he blitzes most of them. It's really, the big three in general is just kind of fast.
Yeah.
You know, I think in general. Most verses are not as fast as the big three in general.
Yeah, and specifically with the big three, they have pretty similar feats in a lot of ways. Like, they all can like dodge like laser beams and things like that. They all can react to attacks. They have multiplier statements and things like that, right? Like the Bankai, stage mode, Luffy's second gear, right? You can just generally kind of find a consensus that they tend to be around faster than light, maybe multiple times faster than light. And Itachi, a lot of the time too, wins these fights, not even just because of speed, but because the alternate character likely wouldn't.
See how weird it is. He acknowledged that Bleach is spiritual, but prior he said maybe Kyoka works in a spiritual sense. Yeah, they're everywhere. I agree the data books have caused issues. The main source of issues. The data book saying astral bodies don't matter. Mean even spiritual attacks don't get through the Yata Mirror. The data book saying astral bodies don't matter means even spiritual attacks don't get through the Yata Mirror. I know what it means. You don't gotta educate me, Karibo. I can read. Thank you, sir. I can read though. In Naruto, yes. Where does it say it can't defend its backside? Are you asking me? Well, I'm talking about the Susanoo. And it's a shield, so if something's attacking its backside, that would either mean it's inside the shield where the Susanoo is, which it can't defend because it's a shield, which means it blocks from the front. Yeah. The Varying Universe he was talking about because Saint Seiya is watching Dragon Ball Z. Hell, Sailor Moon is watching Dragon Ball Z. I've heard Sailor Moon versus Goku before, so I could believe it, definitely.
Just blitz immediately, right? Some characters don't just want to necessarily run in there guns blazing without like getting an idea of their opponent first. So I do think that like someone like Aizen probably would sit there and watch him for a bit, you know, maybe just try and get a gauge of how he fights and things like that. So
even then, you know, Aizen is like, I think Aizen is like, you know, the most extreme example, you know, obviously because he has all the hacks. Aizen is really like, it's either him, Yhwach, or Ichibe are like the crossverse like monsters. Like Ichigo's not even contention for crossverse compared to those three at all. He's completely useless compared to someone like Aizen or Yhwach. So, you know, if you just threw...
That's actually a funny one. Not that I agree with that statement, but I'll say this. When I'm arguing crossverse, Ichigo is probably like the last person I'll ever bring in. Number one, because he's not really fun for me. Like, I need fun characters. That's why we're doing Toshido versus Kakashi. And that's why we'll have like more mid to low to high tiers. But you'll never really see me put Ichigo in something unless it has to do with his something against someone else. Like Ichigo versus Sasuke, who's a better swordsman, right? Ichigo himself really isn't that fun to me. I'm not going to lie. I like him though.
You know, Itachi in front of Ichigo, hit him with Tsukuyomi, or you were to hit, like, Grimmjow or many of the Espada, or, you know, really most of, like, what, the Admirals or any of these characters in One Piece. Dude, even characters that are arguably stronger than Itachi are scared of his Tsukuyomi in his own verse. Like, it's just, these characters just do...
But remember what I said. Stronger in Naruto really just means better ninja. Stronger in Naruto means better ninja. That's all it means. That's all it means. Because Itachi and Sasuke's attacks could still injure him. He still had to dodge, evade, and do all this stuff. So how much stronger was he actually? An unquantifiable amount so. Why? Because he wasn't really stronger. He was just a better ninja. Stronger is a, like, I don't like that word anymore. I really don't even like that word anymore unless we're talking about series that scale off of the energy itself. Like, save that for series like JJK, Hunter x Hunter, Bleach, Yu Yu Hakusho. Oh, he was stronger, but he still had to be wary because of this. Save it for series that actually are stronger, and the person does actually have to be wary of something. Kabuto isn't stronger per se. He's not he's not like speed blitzing anybody. He doesn't have better durability than anybody. All their attacks can hurt each other. Like, just say he's a better ninja, bro.
Not have these specific resistances, especially to astral attacks, but Bleach does. Now, there is then sort of like the final piece.
Yo, am I wrong, or is this becoming a Bleach versus Naruto conversation like the entire video? It's hilarious. It's hilarious. They can't keep Bleach out their mouth. And I'm not mad at it either, because you kind of have to give it to Bleach. You kind of have to give it to Bleach. What did I say? I said, when regarding the soul, when regarding the spirit, Bleach will do everything on the highest level possible. Their whole series is centered around soul physiology, spiritual interactions, and things of this sort and of that nature. That's what I said.
Pieces of the Itachi puzzle, which are sort of fail-safe techniques, where he adds another layer of hacks, where it's like, okay, maybe you can argue Gojo has some type of mind hacks resistance. You know, I think Tsukuyomi is way greater than Infinite Void, but maybe you can, like, try to kind of wank it out, like, there's still infinite information back and forth or something. But Itachi then has another layer that you have to have resistance for. So yeah, and that would be, I think it's Izanami. I always get it confused, like left or right.
The Izanagi is the fate changing one, and Izanami is the fate sealing one.
Yeah, no, I've always, even on the swag collabs, I'd always get them backwards. Dude, I would say it. I've said it like 50 times in 50 videos. I'm just like, is it Izanami or Izanami?
Yeah, the Izanagi is the one where Danzo uses it.
Yeah, so Izanami is then the fate loop. And then the Fate Loop adds a completely different level of resistances that you would need to counter that. That's more like causality and stuff like that, which many verses do not even remotely touch upon. In Bleach, that was only touched upon when Yhwach appeared, and it made him basically omnipotent, right, as an example. So why don't you go into details about some of the things that it can do, and then, yeah.
Yeah, it's a very, like, reality warpy ability, like both of them. Izanagi itself is literally stated to combine illusion and reality. So it basically is like you cast a Genjutsu over reality itself and alter what's happening.
Alright, this is incorrect. This is wrong. It's funny. He has the exact panel here. Let me do this for you guys. Let me do this for you guys. Let's... Boy, oh boy. Let's do this for you guys. Keep in mind what he just said. He said Genjutsu over reality, right? That's what he just said. Hey, Mobley might be gone. It's alright. We're gonna finish this shit. We're gonna finish this shit. An ultimate Genjutsu cast upon oneself that blurs the border between fantasy and reality. An ultimate Genjutsu cast upon oneself. Where the fuck is he getting reality warping? Where is he getting that? Let's go back. Let's make sure I'm not making a mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very, like, reality warpy ability, like both of them. Izanagi itself is literally...
Oh, look. There's the actual panel. An ultimate Genjutsu cast upon oneself.
stated to combine illusion and reality. So it basically is like you cast a Genjutsu over reality itself and alter what's happening. So that's why, like, even though Danzo did just, like, get stabbed by the arrow,
So, like, if he really believed the shit he was saying, why wouldn't Danzo just use Izanagi to make Sasuke Susanoo explode? Why wouldn't he use Izanagi to make Sasuke injured, since he can cast Genjutsu on reality itself and not himself? Like, it's crazy.
warps reality to come back to life and just make that not happen, right? So it's very similar.
Like I hate, he's not warping reality. It's a Genjutsu on himself. Like, I'll say this, it's very low reality warping because it's confined to you. He can't control what happens to the fucking ground. He can't control what happens to Sasuke Susanoo. He can't control the properties of something. It's extremely low, self-contained reality warping, if you want to call it that.
The Yhwach's ability, how he can, like, look into the future and just change reality to whichever future he sees that would benefit him, and he just alters reality to that one, right? And it's very similar how Danzo uses it. And Danzo's not even, like, a good user of it because he's not even Uchiha.
You could argue Itachi can use that as well.
Yeah, he definitely...
He should probably have both.
The fact that he knows about the Izanagi and, like, knows its entire origin story and also learned the Izanami, so it would suggest to me that he probably, learned the Izanagi as well. And that is just something Itachi would in character do anyway.
I would grant that.
I do think he knows both the Izanagi and Izanami. The fact that he can just warp reality at the sacrifice of one of his Sharingan to save his life if he needs to is really good. Because if someone uses, like, a big fail-safe jutsu, kind of like Pain Shibaku Tensei, his body kind of collapses.
Or Datara self-destruct.
Yeah, so if something like that happens and he dies, he can just revive himself. So that's useful in its own way. But the Izanami in particular is a very potent jutsu because of what it does. It's kind of similar to, like, almost like Doctor Strange type hacks, where he's able to just throw you in an infinite fate loop or an infinite time loop where you're constantly just fighting
Dormammu.
Yeah, he's literally Dormammuing him. You know what I mean? To Sage Kabuto until he, like, concedes to not be a bad guy anymore. Like, that's what he did.
And then even a technique like that is convoluted because if you were to apply Izanami, oh shit, what's good, Red? How you doing, bro? Hey, we got Red in the chat. What's good, Red? Exactly. Which too many people try to claim Izanagi can do. I'm like, do y'all realize Madara would have been beat Hashirama back? Like, bro, come on, bro. If Izanagi did half the shit they think it actually did, there's no reason the Uchiha would not be leaders of the fucking free world right now. Makes zero sense. Makes zero sense. First off, why didn't any of the Uchiha use Izanagi when Itachi was bodying them? Anyways, that's neither here nor there. What was I about to get into with this though? Let me go back a little bit.
Acts, or he's able to just throw you in an infinite fate loop or an infinite time loop where you're constantly just fighting yourself. Yeah, he's literally Dormammuing him. You know what I mean? To Sage Kabuto until he like concedes to not be a bad guy anymore.
That's what it was, right? So the implications for Izanami working cross-verse, like if you were to use Izanami on Ichigo, what would be the desired outcome? And this is where you almost have to plug a controller into Itachi's ass and be like, oh, well, Itachi would make Ichigo think this, and he'd have to live through the loop. And then I would say, what stops Ichigo from breaking the loop? Ichigo has never had a problem accepting who he is, if he's a good person or himself. He's never struggled with identity. He might not have known his past, sure, but he's never struggled with identity. The minute he found out he was part fucking Quincy, he accepted that side of him. So like, how would you argue this would work on someone like Ichigo? If we want to talk about Yhwach, sure, maybe. And I say maybe because it's Yhwach's prerogative to change fate, but even that is within his power to do so. It's not him thinking something. It's not him rejecting something. That's literally his fucking power. So it gets kind of weird. It gets kind of convoluted. It gets kind of strange. Who does this ability work on, and why does it work on them? The two things we should be answering.
Like, that's what he did to him.
Even if you want to say that someone could eventually break out of it and then say, oh, well, fighting's still in their character, it leaves them completely immobile, and then Itachi can do whatever he wants with them while they're immobile. So that's another benefit to it.
You could put him in the Totsuki blade.
But anyway, continue explaining. My bad for interrupting that.
So yeah, I think that, like, the Izanami in particular is pretty damn good because of this, like, unique fate hacks that not a lot of characters have. I mean, Yhwach is one of the few characters, Ichigo maybe, or, like, some of the few characters that like have statements surrounding like fate, right? Naruto, I even saw a statement for Naruto the other day that he broke the cogs of fate, so maybe he has some like fate resistance.
As a fun fact, Naruto has a luck stat implying he has minute favorable fate manipulation.
Yeah,
but that's a weird, different, separate argument.
Yeah, I mean, we also know karma and things like that exist in Naruto, so there are just some things from like Buddhist ideology that are just incorporated in Naruto, so I definitely think there is some like fate involved. But regardless, when like Yhwach, for instance, can just alter reality, Itachi, I can argue, can just seal fate and prevent Yhwach from jumping to a new reality. Because that's what he does.
So I almost had a conversation with Noodles about this very topic, and I'm guessing he had so many people to talk to, he couldn't actually engage my point. But when we're talking about Izanami versus the Almighty, it's an order of precedent. It's an order of precedent and scaling. But we can even forgo that, right? And this goes into the first conversation I had with you. Not with you, Mobley, but the first, how I pitched it to you. First off, Izanami takes prep time. You can't just activate it. Things need to happen. Things need to be going on. People need to be moving. That's the first thing. Secondly, it's an attack that takes place within the confines of your mind. Now, in my worldview, any attacks that take place in the confines of the mind fall under the guise of a mental attack, meaning they aren't necessarily using the chakra system. But let's just forego that for this one for now. Just to have the conversation. So, if Yhwach is fighting and he has the Almighty activated, and he sees all the events that are going to happen and can happen and go on. In what fucking reality does he actually get stuck in a goddamn loop and is sitting there like a fucking vegetable? How does that happen? Because in my world, he sees the Sharingan being activated, and he plucks out Itachi's fucking eye. Then, when time catches up to the moment where Itachi goes Mangekyo Sharingan, his eye is fucking plucked out, like how Ichigo's Bankai was snapped. See, it's precedent. If you were to say Izanami took effect before Yhwach used the Almighty, because Yhwach was playing around like he normally likes to do. Because we've seen on 2 occasions now Yhwach fight with his eyes closed, I think, or one occasion. Yeah, we've seen him fight with his eyes closed, but I think he does it again to enjoy the fight, right? So let's just say Yhwach was playing around and he used Izanami. Itachi used Izanami. Then you have a much stronger argument for it working. You have a much stronger argument for it working because it's a precedent issue, right? The ability Izanami was casted first, right? The point of it is to keep this fate manipulating and fate changing person in a loop. The fate manipulating person tries to escape it using that power. Now that gets a little hazy as to whether or not it would work for Yhwach, but at least you have a leg to fucking stand on. If Yhwach's using the Almighty first, you don't even have a leg to stand on with this conversation. There's no conversation that happens in which Yhwach uses the Almighty, Izanami is activated after, and Izanami fucking works? Where do they do that at? In what verse would you take an ability that can change and alter and see the future and have it be subject to ability that has to take place in real fucking time? You're out your goddamn mind. It doesn't even begin to make sense. So, like, no. You can't argue it would work on Yhwach. I mean, you can argue it, right? You can argue anything. You can argue it, sure. But
the
no.
Izanagi users who also are changing.
Let me check the comments. Mario did that with science. He did do it with science. Izanami does put reality in a Genjutsu. Oh, God. Red. How the hell does it put it in a Genjutsu? Does that even make sense to you? How do you put Izanagi in a Genjutsu? They're not read riches. They use it in a way that costs them their sight and doesn't allow them to do whatever. Hey, love. I'm live. Are you headed home?
Yes.
Okay. Can I call you when you get home?
Yeah, sure. Come whenever.
Okay, day. Bye-bye.
Hi, Hanzai. Hello.
All right. See you then. Okay. All right. Imagine Itachi caught in Mayuri's version of Izanagi, and Itachi tries to cast Izanagi on fake Mayuri. Yo, see, that would be fucking hilarious. That would be rich. Imagine the drug is used on Itachi, then Itachi tries to sacrifice his eye with Izanagi to get out of it, only to find out that he's still in it because he can't actually do anything. That would be fucking great. I might write that. That's hilarious. Best believe he's getting donations. Yep, he can. All right, is that pedo? Is that the pedo, Seth? Yep, he came back last year. Best believe he's getting donations. He probably is. I ain't hating on a man making no money, though. Yhwach would not only fight with his eyes closed with Ichigo. Prior to that, he couldn't activate it prematurely. Right. From flashbacks included, when Yhwach had the Almighty before he invaded society, he had it active basically at all times. Rarely had it off. Exactly. Right. But my thing is, we're going to like skip all that stuff. We're just going to take the strongest versions of these two. Yhwach, Almighty Yhwach, literally Soul King absorbed Yhwach, where he has the Almighty on pretty much all the fucking time, versus, I guess, Edo Itachi. I don't understand how Izanami has an inkling of a chance of working. Because Yhwach's going to see everything that transpires. How do you prep for that? Like, the only that Izanami happens first. Then everything Yhwach seeing after that is part of Izanami. All right, let's finish this. Then I'm gonna call my girlfriend.
Reality,
My
just
fiance.
like Yhwach. Now, people argue Yhwach does it better, and he does do it better in the sense of precognition, in my opinion. I think he can see more realities than anybody. I do think that the Sharingan is also stated to have a couple statements and a couple things implying that it can manipulate time as well, though, such as like Madara's like weird game footage where like he rewinds time. What else? There's the second
Not manga.
data book statement that says the Mangekyo Sharingan gazes upon the past, present, and future. You know, stuff like that.
Literally flowery fucking language, not manga. Databook exclusive. Nothing in this series supports that.
All right, so there are certain statements that suggest it can manipulate time. I think even Danzo implies Itachi has some time manipulation. But yeah, like
Manipulating time, and let's just take that. Let's just take this as true. The extreme clairvoyance of those heavenly eyes gazing down upon past, present, and future. Where are you getting manipulate? See, this is how you manipulate information. This is what breeds bad scalers. This is what breeds incompetent scalers. Shit like this. The extreme clairvoyance. That means to watch or to see or to perceive. Where is he getting manipulate? The extreme clairvoyance of those heavenly eyes gazing down upon past, present, and future is the reason why they are feared as the strongest. So first off, this is flowery. I'm gonna just say it's writing with flair. First off, this is writing with flair, and it's really meant to hone in on how powerful the Sharingan is. I wouldn't even take this shit seriously. I'm only taking it seriously because he bought it up. But nowhere in here does it suggest manipulate the past, the present, or the fucking future. This is what breeds bad scalers.
On the past, present, and future, you know, stuff like that, right? So there are certain statements that suggest it can manipulate time. I think even Danzo.
Oh, look, it's a far cry from Itachi's Tsukuyomi, in which he freely manipulated time within the dreamscape. See, you gotta watch people. Noodles is slick. Noodles is a very slick debater. He'll take something like this, incorporate it with Izanagi and Izanami, and say, look, the Mangekyo Sharingan manipulates time. No. Itachi can manipulate time within his dream world. Nothing else can, or has shown to be able to do that. So I don't know why we're playing games like they can do those things. This is what breeds bad scalers.
Implies Itachi has some time manipulation. But yeah, like these abilities to like see the future and stuff are really good. And the ability to change the future into what you want is what makes it broken. And the Izanagi and Yhwach are able to do that. So they do that via the same reality warping thing. And the only difference...
Take a look at this panel right here, guys. Anything disadvantageous to the caster, damage, or even death can be rewritten as a dream. What did I say? I said it's limited reality warping. I said it's limited, self-contained reality warping. Lo and behold, anything disadvantageous to the caster, damage, or death can be rewritten as a dream. So don't let him peddle that this is a Genjutsu on reality itself. Don't let him peddle that this affects anything outside of the fucking user. It doesn't. And that's not how it works. Just catching these guys in misinformation after misinformation statement, and I don't want to say they're lying. I'll just chalk it up to being misinformed. Hi, Kribo. How are you? From flashbacks included when you had the Almighty. I think I saw that. Flowery was kicking your butt for a moment. Hey, chill out, bro. I don't know why I couldn't say flowery. That was weird as shit. So you know, sometimes we just be getting tongue twisted on things that you know. It'd be weird, bro. I don't know. That was funny as shit, though. I'm not gonna lie. It was funny. I might clip that. Make that a clip. Flower. I was like flowery. Uh-oh. Shit. Here we go. Chaos Edge, the spirit of the wrath, has entered the chat. What's good, bro? How are you doing? We just up yapping about Naruto, Bleach, my goals for the next couple months as far as going live and live streaming. Oh, by the way, if you're just getting in here, Red, Chaos, my girlfriend's proposal happened last Saturday. It was a amazing success, 10 out of 10 across the board. She was extremely happy with the whole thing, and it was really good. It was really good. So that's why I didn't go live for like the last week and a half to 2 weeks. I was preparing for the proposal. She said yes, of course. If she didn't, there would have been issues. But yeah, it was good. It was good.
Is that he is picking the reality to bring to him, and because of that, I think that Itachi could potentially like seal off his fate manipulation. Now, that's just a possibility, right? He just has so many different variations of like fate hacks and time hacks and mind hacks and a bunch of like one-shot win conditions that just make him kind of like this demonic spaz crossverse where he can just like one-shot anybody
he's just
and
a
everybody.
cheeser, bro.
Yeah, he does so.
He's a one-shot cheese character. He's very strange.
He's got so much like Batman intelligence like feats too, where he's like thinking like multiple decades ahead and like freaking out Obito with his level of planning. You know, nearly kills him after he dies, you know, just stuff like that. After like fighting Sasuke and Orochimaru and beating them both.
Crazy people think Obito's stronger than both.
Yeah.
But that being said, you know, obviously I have my own thoughts about Ichigo or Aizen or whatever, but Itachi as well, it's just like compare him to like many, you know, One Punch Man characters. Dude, imagine Boros tries to square up to Itachi and gets Tsukuyomi. Like, he has no resistance. He can't do anything. There's literally nothing. There's no statement he can survive an astral attack. There's no statement he can survive a mind hacks. Even if Boros could blow up a star, like he...
So yeah, what I'll chalk up a lot of this stuff to just a difference in scaling. I think our principles are different. That's probably what really separates me and them. Our principles are different. They think that no matter the strength of a character, no matter how formidable a character is, no matter their power, if they don't have stated resistance to X thing will work. I just don't live in a world where that is possible, because it just doesn't really make sense to do things like that. I don't believe in no limit fallacies. That's really what it comes down to. And it sounds like they're hinging on no limit fallacies. Like, they'll say, oh no, it won't work if you have resistance. But if even the most powerful characters never show resistance to mind hacks, then it will work. So yeah, it's a difference in scaling, which is fine, you know, but that's why the goal is to get scaling more objective rather than subjective.
He's still getting mind destroyed. Like, he's literally getting mind broken, like, by Itachi.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, 99% of characters actually just can't deal with Itachi. It's like, it's a very bizarre, specific set of circumstances that just lets him do that in many cross verses, even if it doesn't translate one-to-one in his own verse. But even in his own verse, he's, like, weirdly overpowered for, like, his actual tier of strength. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and that's something that can...
Again, I'm going to keep saying this. Strength in Naruto is a misnomer for being a better ninja than someone. In no world can Itachi not fight with anybody physically. In no world will his attacks will not hurt someone physically. Naruto is not about strength. It's about being a better ninja. Because you don't have to scale to the energy of the person. You only have to overcome their durability. That's literally it. That's literally it. That is literally it. That is literally it. So if we're saying, oh, for someone like Itachi's tier of strength, that doesn't say much. Because no matter where Itachi was at any point in this series, his attacks were still going to do the same thing they would have done if they hit at any point in the series. Like, you think a fireball jutsu from Itachi isn't hurting Seige's Sixth Path Sasuke, or Sasuke when he has Hagoromo's Chakra? It's still hurting fucking Sasuke. The only difference is Sasuke now has his perfect Susanoo to where he can defend against it, making him a better ninja. Not stronger, Because by no means does he necessarily still beat Itachi. He's just a better ninja. He's more equipped. He has more techniques. He is stronger Susanoo. Better ninja. There's no stronger in Naruto. There are only better ninja. I'm going to write that down. That's actually something I'm going to continue to push. There's no such thing as stronger in Naruto. There are only better ninja. Now, there might be one smart ass, Sakura is physically stronger. Obviously, but guess what? Naruto's a better fucking ninja, which is why he beats her ass. Congratulations, bro. Hey, man, I appreciate that, bro. Thank you. Thank you so much. It was a real fun experience. It was a headache though, because her family was kind of late and I was banking on everyone to be there on time, but they were late and they had me stressing, but it was good overall. So I appreciate you, bro. Itachi could seal Yhwach. Itachi doesn't even have enough hacks potency to do that. Exactly. And these are the things that the Naruto verse has to address. Hacks potency, hacks scaling in general, and then how other verses handle, well, not even how other verses, how cross verses handle certain things. But all this stuff, again, kind of comes down to personal stuff and how you scale as a person and stuff like that. So, but yeah, let's finish up this video. It wasn't as bad, actually. Like, don't get me wrong, this was an Itachi glaze fest like no other I've seen before. But it wasn't like super horrible. They didn't say anything about like, beating Cthulhu. I was expecting to hear Cthulhu's losing. Mr. McPiddlix is losing. I was expecting to hear the one above all is losing. I was expecting to hear Whis is losing. You know what I mean? They didn't do all that stuff. They kept it mainly to Bleach.
So
yeah, I think that you really just got to be straight up blitzing them, like to a point that it's like unreasonable, or you got to have like some kind of like crazy hacks resistance to deal with him, like a more hacks character. And not to say that like Bleach characters necessarily lose to Itachi. I know I was kind of repping that earlier, but like characters like Yhwach and things like that, I was more so talking about the interactions with their hacks. Like Yhwach and Aizen potentially have like multiversal feats, right? Things like that, and they have like massively faster than light feats too. I think Itachi does as well, but I think that it can get a little more contentious than just Itachi seals him or whatever.
You need like a Viltrumite. Like if you wanted a Viltrumite to beat Itachi, it would have to be like flying from like the Andromeda galaxy at like full speed, like into the Leaf Village and like killing him through his house. Like, while he's not expecting it, and then splattering him against the wall or something. Like, so that's the only way it's gonna beat him. You know what I mean? Like, just something absolutely just stupid.
Yeah,
like,
it's gotta be fast as hell, man. Like,
yeah. Either way, though, guys, that's really kind of the base of it. You could probably make like a crazy video on like all the crazy stuff Itachi could do. But yeah, there are obviously characters that can beat Itachi in a fight. No one's saying he's like omnipotent. We're not like memeing like that. But we're just saying there's a reason people still bringing him up in all of these versus battles, despite maybe you don't see him as the strongest character in Naruto, but it's like, why are you comparing him to this guy then? You think Naruto could take that guy? It's like, no, but Itachi can. And that's something crazy to also consider. Itachi can beat many people Naruto might not be able to beat as well. So anyways, guys, do hope that you enjoyed the video. Be sure to check out Noodle's channel. It'll be in the description, and until next time, peace.
All right.
Dunkin' Refreshers, available in mango pineapple.
So yeah, I don't really feel any different with that video in particular. Kind of stand on what I said though. It was the biggest glaze fest of Itachi I've ever seen. I think they overly sized and wanked the speed. I think they're heavily misinformed when it comes to crossverse scaling and their stance on it. But like I said, that's personal. So while I think they're misinformed, they might think I'm misinformed. It's fine. It happens. Do I agree with most of their things? No. Nope, don't agree with it. In fact, this was really just Bleach versus Itachi at the end of the day. This was a video about 99% of fiction disguised under the guise of 99% fiction versus Itachi, but really it was Bleach versus Itachi. That's what it really was. And Bleach characters have a counters to Itachi's things. For example, they'll all be able to interact with, touch, and parry the Susanoo and its spirit weapons. They don't have chakra networks, so Genjutsu isn't an option. Even if we were to give them chakra networks, how would you argue that Itachi's chakra, which is only 50% spiritual energy, would be stronger and enough to overwhelm and invade Ichigo's or Byakuya's bodies, which are 100% spiritual energy? How would you argue that? Just because it can? Like, what's the actual argument, though? Right? So even if we don't want to give them chakra networks, there's still that aspect of the argument. You're using a weaker version of spirit energy. And there's no way around it. Because all of your jutsu are necessarily physical energy and spiritual energy. Unless you're one of those people that believe Genjutsu relies more so on the yin side, which is spiritual energy side. Unless you believe that. And then even with that, it's like, okay, cool, Genjutsu is casted, but what's stopping a Bleach character from actually physically seeing the chakra from their eye pour into their eye? And what's stopping them from putting up a danko? What's stopping them from dodging it? What's stopping them from using their own reiatsu as a shield? There's so many counters to Genjutsu for Bleach. It's really not funny. But yeah, don't forget, guys. He really tried to tell you. Hold up. He really tried to tell you guys in that video that that Izanagi is a Genjutsu on reality. When Danzo himself fucking says it's a technique that casts Genjutsu upon oneself, that blurs the border between fantasy and reality. That's not the same thing as a Genjutsu on reality. It's just saying the technique he's using on himself blurs the border between fantasy and reality because you don't know what's real versus what's fake as far as what's going on. So yeah, don't forget he tried to actually sneak that in there, but we caught him because I actually do this in real life. Like, if you go through my shit, a lot of it's going to be anime manga panels. You'll see some family stuff, but a lot of this stuff, anime manga panels. Kotetsu, right here. Ada, Damon, Bleach Reflection. Asnot over here. Itachi over here. Damon over here. Yachiru over here, talking about the sword. Kakashi, like, I do this in real life. I don't just talk this shit. That's why I was able to go right to my thing and be like, hold up. That's not what it says. You ain't telling the whole truth. Yeah. Yhwach would literally blow Itachi's head off without touching him on God. Facts. Sephiroth versus Aizen. I wish I knew enough about Sephiroth, but I got Aizen. Dude, Yachiru, not Unohana, can beat Itachi just by energetic pressure alone. Because Itachi is that guy. And they don't know his kit. People who can see Chakra doesn't see Genjutsu travel. So here's the thing. I don't what people can see Chakra that don't see Genjutsu travel, and when they have known that Genjutsu was being casted to travel in the first place. There's a lot of things wrong with that statement. Yeah, there's a lot of things wrong with that statement. And here's the thing. Just because they don't see Genjutsu travel, I can say that, well, in Bleach, they have things called spirit ribbons, which are actually imperceptible to actual spiritual beings, right? So that gives advanced spiritual beings a higher perception than regular spiritual beings. And we know regular spiritual beings can actually see spiritual phenomena. Chakra is spiritual energy mixed with physical energy. So an advanced spiritual being should be able to see the phenomena of chakra leaving someone's eye and traveling. But anyways, guys, this was fun. My girlfriend is calling me now. So we're going to end stream. Like the video. Share the video. This was the first stream back. My girlfriend said yes to the proposal. I fuck with all you guys heavy. Karibo, thank you for staying. Thank you for showing up. Red, thank you for staying. Thank you for showing up. Mobley, my guy. You already know. 100 grand. Chaos came in a little late, but thank you for staying. Thank you for showing up. Everyone else. Who else we had in here before? John Dro 56, my guy. So John Dro, actually, guys, I think he's going to be joining the community as far as like, the lives and stuff that we do. He said he's been watching the past lives and he liked my scale on the Bleach cosmology video. So welcome him when you guys see him. But I fuck with him too. John the Maven, haven't seen you in here before, but thank you as well. Fulbert Elric, who I think I'll just call Elric because it reminds me of Edward and Alphonse Elric. I like that. But yeah, everyone in here, man. We out of here. I appreciate you guys. Good night and congrats. Yeah, thank you, bro. I appreciate you, man. Hey, we got a spot in here still too, man. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you, man. Peace and love, bro. Peace and love to all you guys. Let me read this after Byakugan, Sharingan, Rinnegan, and Rinne Sharingan have never seen Genjutsu travel. Right, so Karibo, I'll just respond to this and I'll go. All that means is that those dojutsu have less perceptive. Those dojutsu are less perceptive than Bleach's spiritual system because they can see finer spiritual particles like spirit ribbons and stuff like that. But anyways, I'm going to end it on that. Good night.